Yu Yunzi and Gu Huaxi instantly understood Fang Chen's misgivings. Yu Yunzi curled his fingers into a fist and spoke icily, "If any mishap befalls you, even sect leader Kong will be put to death as your sacrifice." "By what right?" Kong Yuanba struggled and roared. "Someone else is trying to kill him. What has that got to do with me?" Yu Yunzi snorted disdainfully. "Then you had best pray Fang Chen lives long enough to attend the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's disciple recruitment. If any harm comes to him, no matter the cause, I, the Vice Pavilion Master, will be the first to slay you." This completely cut off all possible escape routes for Kong Yuanba. As of this moment, the person in the entire world who most wished for Fang Chen to stay alive was none other than Kong Yuanba himself. Kong Yuanba seethed with suppressed fury, thinking these Vice Pavilion Masters were completely unreasonable. Yet he had long forgotten just how domineering he himself was when dealing with weaker martial artists. After warning Kong Yuanba repeatedly, Yu Yunzi and Gu Huaxi personally accompanied Fang Chen to the mission hall to collect the rescue mission. Afterwards, they arrived at the mountain gate. Fang Chen cupped his fists in salute and said, "Thank you for your care and protection today, honored seniors. If in the future this junior is fortunate enough to gain the favor of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, and the two seniors do not find this junior unworthy, I will definitely prioritize taking one of you two as my master." Upon receiving this reply, smiles spread across the faces of Yu Yunzi and Gu Huaxi, making all their efforts to look after him worth it. With this promise, they could rest easy for the time being, no longer needing to worry about other forces extending olive branches to Fang Chen. Yu Yunzi, who had long prepared for this, pulled 3 ancient-looking copper coins from his bosom and said, "These are defensive magical artifacts I used in my youth. Each one can withstand a full strike from a 9th-layer golden core realm cultivator. They are of no use to me now, so I will gift them to you." With the beast tide currently raging violently, and Fang Chen needing to frequently carry out first-tier missions, he had to make arrangements for Fang Chen's safety. "Thank you, Vice Pavilion Master Yu." Fang Chen accepted the coins joyfully. Now that everything had been laid out clearly, and his intention to take them as masters was made explicit, there was no need for excessive politeness. What was more, he was indeed severely lacking in high-grade defensive magical artifacts right now. Though 3 coins were somewhat redundant, one would have been more than enough. After all, if a peerless foe was strong enough to break through 1 coin's defense, 3 coins would most likely not hold either. For any foe that could be blocked, a single coin was more than sufficient. When Gu Huaxi saw this, how could she allow herself to fall behind Yu Yunzi? She immediately rummaged in her sleeve and pulled out a cloak as thin as a cicada's wing, covered all over with turtle shell patterns. This is the turtle breath cloak. Though its name is plain, its functions are extraordinary. Gu Huaxi smiled as she infused spiritual power into the cloak, then draped it over herself. In an instant, she vanished into thin air right before Fang Chen's eyes. Truly, she had disappeared without a trace. Yu Yunzi's lips twitched. That old woman is really willing to spend a fortune. She even pulled out this precious treasure. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment. He looked around everywhere, even using the Kai observation technique from the Path of Medicine to try and locate the vanished Gu Huaxi, but the surroundings were completely empty. He could not sense even a wisp of her aura. It was not until someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind that Fang Chen suddenly realized Gu Huaxi had already arrived behind him without a sound. This shocked Fang Chen greatly. If one wore this cloak, they could kill people without leaving a trace, making it impossible to guard against. Gu Huaxi took off the cloak, revealing her figure once more. Gu Huaxi said kindly, "As you have seen, this is an invisibility cloak that can mask your scent, spiritual power fluctuations, and physical form when you encounter a powerful foe you cannot match. Put it on. As long as you do not make a sound, the enemy will find it extremely difficult to locate you. Of course, its flaw is that it consumes a great deal of spiritual power, so it is best used only at critical moments." With that, she stuffed the cloak into Fang Chen's arms. Fang Chen was immensely grateful. This was without a doubt an incredible treasure. He bowed repeatedly to the 2 Vice Pavilion Masters. This junior is eternally grateful for the generous gifts from the 2 seniors. Yu Yunzi stroked his beard and laughed. "If you make good use of these items and survive the beast tide safely, that will be the greatest gratitude you can offer us." Gu Huaxi also said kindly, "Take care. We hope we will meet again at the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion." After giving repeated warnings, the 2 left together. The intelligence that the Demon Emperor's consort was offering nascent soul essence blood could not be delayed even for a moment. They had to let the pavilion master make a decision as soon as possible. Fang Chen carefully stored away the items, but did not recklessly rush to Hehuan Lake. His senior sister and her group were all exceptionally powerful, yet they had still encountered danger and their fates were unknown. If he rushed there thoughtlessly, not only might he lose his own life, he could very well implicate his senior sister as well. If Liu Qingxian was still alive and found that Fang Chen was in danger, there was no question she would step forward to protect him. In that case, he would not only fail to save her, but would bring her harm instead. Thus, he had to make thorough preparations first. He conducted a thorough check of his own condition. His cultivation method, weapons, and physical state were all flawless. The only shortage was medicinal pills. He only had 4 rejuvenation pills left on his person. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, and he had no way of knowing if any of their 5-member group would sustain grave injuries, so he had to refine an additional batch. Besides that, he could refine more 3-step drunk, which boasted exceptional combat efficacy. Medicinal pills that replenish spiritual power were extremely rare on the market, so he could also attempt to refine a few vials of those. Having settled on the required medicinal pills, he promptly headed to the giant sects market square. Thanks to the influx of cultivators from various sects gathering here, all of whom had brought rare spirit artifacts from their respective regions to varying degrees, even mysterious heavenly materials and earthly treasures could occasionally be found in the giant sects market. Thus, Fang Chen quickly gathered all 3 primary ingredients for refining rejuvenation pills: dragon beard grass, threes, striped spirit fruit, and century-old ancient mulberry sawdust. Immediately after, he easily located the ingredients for 3-step drunk, only failing to find the primary ingredient for spiritual power replenishing pills, Moon Yuganada, after a long search. This item was not considered a particularly precious heavenly material or earthly treasure, but it was extremely scarce, its uses were obscure, and very few people had need of it, so it was rarely put up for sale. Just as Fang Chen was preparing to give up, he suddenly spotted a female disciple wearing the robes of the Grand Supreme Sect running a street stall around the corner, selling an assortment of miscellanea including various materials, medicinal pills, and more. Among them was a moon, white Ganoderma the size of a wash basin, which was precisely the moon Ganoderma he sought. Fang Chen's heart leaped with excitement, and he strode forward quickly, only to find someone else had arrived before him. It was a woman with an extremely slender back, a wasp waist so narrow it could be grasped with a single hand, and shoulders as sharp as if carved by a blade. She wore a pale green skirt, giving off a fresh, ethereal aura. She crouched in front of the stall, curiously examining the Moonview Ganoderma again and again. After asking a few questions, she lost interest and rose to her feet to leave. Fang Chen breathed a quiet sigh of relief. It was fortunate she had not wanted the Ganoderma, otherwise he would have had to go to a great deal of extra trouble. But the moment the woman in the pale green skirt turned around, Fang Chen froze. It was an exquisite face that looked equally beautiful, whether angry or joyful, with lips that naturally curved slightly upward. Her large, jewel-like eyes seemed capable of speaking on their own. Her straight, pert nose gave her features striking depth, and her rosy red lips were as alluring as cherries. At 18 years of age, she wore no makeup, her skin glowing with the vibrant health of a young woman in her prime. She was, without a doubt, an extraordinarily beautiful, radiant young maiden. Fang Chen recognized her instantly, and could not help but cry out in surprise, "Yue Mingzhu, what are you doing here?" A look of delight crossed his face as he hurried over to her, his eyes holding both the joy of reuniting with an old acquaintance and an indescribable sense of gratitude. It was the jade pendant with golden core 9th layer defensive power that Yue Mingzhu had given him that had allowed him to survive Leng Gu's fatal strike, and he had kept this debt of gratitude firmly buried in his heart all this time. Yue Mingzhu was stunned for a moment, barely realizing that he was calling her. She had only used this name once or twice, and very few people knew of it. When she followed the sound and looked over, a handsome, otherworldly face with a distinguished, unflappable aura came into view. She froze, dazed for a moment, wondering if she was dreaming. For over a month, she had lost count of how many times she had woken screaming from nightmares, all of which centered around this detestable face. In her dreams, Fang Chen would make faces at her and taunt. "Catch me if you dare. The esteemed sect leader can't even catch a lowly disciple like me. How embarrassing. Thanks for the quest, sect leader. You're a real good person." Every single dream left her so furious, she woke immediately. Once, unable to bear it any longer, she charged out of Hehuan City in the middle of the night, intending to head to Qingyun Sect to settle the score with Fang Chen. She was only stopped at the last minute when several elders forcibly persuaded her to return, preventing a disaster from occurring. Now that she saw Fang Chen unexpectedly right in front of her, she could not shake the delusion that she was still trapped in a dream. "What's wrong?" Fang Chen waved his hand in front of her face. "Why are you zoning out all of a sudden?" Only then did Yue Mingzhu come to her senses. This was no nightmare. She had truly run into Fang Chen, that infuriating bastard. "Fang Chen," Yue Mingzhu snarled through gritted teeth, the nameless rage in her chest about to erupt like a volcano and soar into the heavens. When she thought back on all the past events, her fury only grew. She had sincerely persuaded Fang Chen to join Hehuan Sect, but he had rejected her outright with no regard for her face, and even escaped from her grasp, that she could have forgiven. It was only a little lost pride after all. But what angered her most of all was that after he was put on the wanted list, he had dared to take a quest right under her nose, and succeeded at it, no less. Now that Fang Chen had delivered himself right to her doorstep, she would make him pay. She absolutely would, no exceptions. "I thought you would have forgotten me." Fang Chen had not yet picked up on her volatile mood. His eyes filled with fond nostalgia. "It has been far too long. I have missed you greatly. How have you been lately?" He missed me. Yue Mingzhu froze for a moment, the rage that had been about to erupt dying down slightly. But she was still furious. She would make him pay today, no matter what. No one could stop her. She huffed heavily. "I've been terrible, 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 terrible." Fang Chen chuckled softly. She was still as unpredictable as ever. "Stretch out your hand. I have something for you," Fang Chen said. "He's giving me a gift." Yue Mingzhu's eyes lit up for a moment, and the rage simmering in her heart died down another notch. But she spoke stubbornly. "Who wants your lousy thing? I don't need it." Fang Chen smiled and grabbed her small hand. "How dare you?" Yue Mingzhu snapped softly, yanking her hand back immediately. But there was already an item resting in her palm. She opened her palm to look, and found an ancient copper coin. She recognized its extraordinary nature at a glance, and cried out in shock. "A magical artifact with golden core 9th layer defensive power. W, why are you giving this to me? This item is incredibly precious. How could you give it away so casually?" Fang Chen smiled and said, "The jade pendant you gave me last time saved my life. I had no idea that the parting gift you gave me, Miss Yu, was a magical artifact with golden core 9th layer defensive power. I was too blind to recognize your profound kindness at the time, and I am deeply ashamed." A flood of grievances welled up in Yue Mingzhu's heart. "You know you owe me, and you still dared to anger me so. Did I not only ask you to stay in Hehuan Sect because I wanted you by my side? I even took action personally, and you still refused to comply. Do you expect me to beg you?" As these thoughts crossed her mind, a layer of mist gradually gathered, covering her sparkling eyes. "Why are you crying?" Fang Chen asked, flustered. "Miss Yu, have I offended you in some way?" Yue Mingzhu gritted her pearly silver teeth, wanting to hurl harsh insults at him to vent the grievances that had festered in her heart for days. But the sight of his anxious expression softened her heart immediately. The rage that had built up for days suddenly refused to spill forth no matter what, and she cursed herself inwardly for being so weak-willed. She stamped her dainty foot, then tossed the copper coin in her hand back to him. "This is your belonging. I will not forgive you either. We shall never cross paths again from this day forth." Fang Chen was utterly bewildered. Where on earth had he offended her? Had they not parted on good terms when they last separated? He watched as she wiped away her tears and turned to leave. Fang Chen quickly grabbed her arm and said, "Miss Yu, please stay a moment." Yue Mingzhu snapped in shame and fury. "Let go. What kind of propriety is this in broad public view?" Fortunately, no one knew her true identity. Otherwise, if word spread that the lord of the Hehuan Sect was pulling and tussling with a man on the main street, she would never be able to clear her name, no matter how much she explained. "Listen to what I have to say first," Fang Chen spoke. Yue Mingzhu said, "What else do you want?" She had already let Fang Chen off. Why was he still pestering her so relentlessly? But for some inexplicable divine whim, she did not shake off Fang Chen's palm and stopped in her tracks. Her crystal-clear eyes, misty with unshed tears, glared fiercely at him. Fang Chen said sincerely, "If I do not repay the kindness you have shown me, Miss Yu, my heart will never be at peace. Please accept this copper coin. Besides, I am about to refine a batch of spiritual medicinal pills, and I have a portion reserved for you. Please do not dismiss them as unworthy." She had originally intended to shake her head and refuse, but her heart suddenly jolted. Had Fang Chen just said something extremely odd just now? She asked uncertainly, "If I heard correctly, you said you are going to refine a batch of spiritual pills yourself. You are certain you mean refine them, not purchase them?" Fang Chen sighed helplessly. If it were not for the pressing circumstances, he would never have wanted another person to learn his secret of being a soul master. He immediately leaned close to her ear and whispered, "You only need to keep this knowledge to yourself, and never tell anyone else." There are barely a handful of people aware of this matter. Fang Chen was actually a soul master as well. Yue Mingzhu was stunned with shock. Any soul master holds an exceptionally lofty status among the 9 great sects. Fang Chen already possessed so many extraordinary skills, yet he had still hidden the identity of a soul master all this time. She had thought that after spending so much time together at the bottom of the cliff, she knew Fang Chen well enough. Only now did she realize that what she knew was merely the tip of the iceberg. If his identity as a soul master were to be revealed, it would absolutely cause a massive upheaval that shakes the entire 9 great sects. A soul master this young has boundless prospects and would definitely be coveted by countless forces. It was fortunate that Fang Chen was as cautious as ever and had kept this secret so tightly hidden. But she quickly came to her senses. "You are actually telling me this." Yue Mingzhu pressed her lips together and said, "Are you not afraid I will betray you?" Fang Chen laughed and said, "You even gave me your treasured 9th Flair Golden Core Realm defensive magical artifact as a gift, which shows you treat me with true sincerity. Why would you ever harm me?" He trusted me this much. A sweet warmth surged in Yue Mingzhu's heart, and the corners of her lips could not help but curl upwards. All the resentment that had accumulated in her heart for so long vanished without a trace before she knew it. "You are nothing more than a soul master apprentice, or at most a 1-star soul master. It is nothing to boast of. I cannot even be bothered to tell anyone else about this." Of course, her words were still as sharp-tongued as ever. Fang Chen smiled and said nothing. He brought her to rent a secret chamber, then arranged his materials and began pill refining in earnest. A short while later, Yue Mingzhu stared at the vial of glowing green medicinal pills in her palm, her eyes vacant. "You refined these rejuvenation pills yourself." How could she not know of the world-renowned Rejuvenation Pill? Back at the roaming auction held by the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and hosted by Hehuan Sect, the Rejuvenation Pills made a stunning debut and were purchased by the 10,000 Swords Sect at jaw-dropping price of 200,000 spiritual coins per pill. Perhaps at first some people thought the price was exorbitant, but after witnessing the sheer peril of the beast tide, no one would ever think that 200,000 was not worth the cost. To possess it is equivalent to holding an extra life in reserve. Regrettably, it was only sold on a single occasion. The rejuvenation elixir never appeared on the market again, vanishing entirely from the world. Impossible to obtain no matter how vast one's wealth. What Yue Mingzhu never could have fathomed was that the rejuvenation elixir was actually crafted by Fang Chen's own hand. This was a 3rd-grade spiritual elixir, one of the 9 legendary ancient healing elixirs. Her heart thundered in her chest, and only then did she realize that Fang Chen was no insignificant spirit master, but a grandmaster whose single stomp could shake the very foundations of the 9 sects' lands. Fang Chen smiled enigmatically. "You've eaten it before, haven't you? What is there to make such a fuss over?" Yue Mingzhu froze for a moment, the memory coming flooding back. When she had fallen off the cliff back then, she should have been shattered to pieces, her death certain, yet Fang Chen had miraculously saved her life. "So the elixir you gave me to take that day was the rejuvenation elixir." The realization dawned on her in an instant. But then she asked, confused, "Yet we were complete strangers back then. You would use such a precious medicinal pill to save me." Fang Chen responded calmly, "Medicinal pills can be refined again once they are gone. If I had stood by and let you die, your life would be lost forever, with no way to reverse it." "All right, I will begin refining other medicinal pills now. Help me separate and pack the remaining rejuvenation elixirs, won't you?" Watching Fang Chen return to his focused work of pill refining, Yue Mingzhu gazed at his face, her gaze gradually softening. In this turbulent, chaotic era, scheming and fighting bitterly over cultivation resources is the unchanging norm of the martial cultivation world. How many people like Fang Chen still exist in this world? As she stared, she suddenly snapped back to her senses, a faint blush creeping across her fair face. She could not deny it, she deeply admired a person like Fang Chen. Yet as a certain thought crossed her mind, her expression dimmed, and she gently touched her face that appeared to be that of an 18-year-old girl. She let out a low, long sigh. "If only I had met you 10 years earlier." Her appearance was that of an 18-year-old, but in truth, she was already 30 years old. Half a day later, Fang Chen finished refining all 3 types of spiritual elixirs, 100 rejuvenation elixirs, 100 Kai replenishing elixirs, and 100 3-step drunk elixirs. This was the amount remaining after he had given Yue Mingzhu her share. Yue Mingzhu, who had just received the 3 types of spiritual elixirs, beamed with joy. "All of these are incredible treasures. Thank you so much." Fang Chen laughed. You're not angry anymore. Then do you still want this copper coin, or not? He took out the copper coin once more, and Yue Mingzhu boldly snatched it from his hand, saying, Of course I want it. You're giving it to me. Why would I refuse? She found a length of red string, threaded it through the hole in the coin, and hung it as a pendant around her snow-white neck, then preened and showed it off proudly. Does it look good? Fang Chen was both amused and exasperated. It looks beautiful. Someone as pretty as you looks good no matter what you wear. Yue Mingzhu rolled her eyes at him, not a single bit of sincerity. Yet the corners of her lips could not help but curve upwards into a smile. Yet her smile faded very quickly after that. Miss Yu, let us part ways here. Fang Chen let out a sigh of relief, clasping his fists in a formal salute. I hope we will have the chance to meet again in the future. He had repaid Yue Mingzhu's kindness and had prepared all the medicinal elixirs he needed. It was time for him to set off for the northern borderlands. The sudden announcement of their parting made Yue Mingzhu feel an inexplicable ache in her heart, and she asked plaintively, You're in such a hurry to leave. Fang Chen replied, My senior sister has gone missing, her whereabouts unknown. I have to go find her. Yue Mingzhu understood at last, nodding her head, Then go quickly. If you have time, come visit me at the Hehuan Sect. Fang Chen hesitated for a moment, then said, I'm afraid I cannot go to the Hehuan Sect. Whether we meet again in the future will be entirely up to fate. Yue Mingzhu froze in confusion. Why was the place off limits? After pondering for a moment, Fang Chen spoke. Could it be that Miss Yu has been away from your sect recently, and does not know that your sect master has already issued a wanted order for me? Yue Mingzhu's heart skipped a beat. Only then did she recall this matter, and her cheeks flushed involuntarily. Back then, she had acted so willfully solely because she wanted to keep Fang Chen, coupled with the fact that she was still seething with anger. Well, is it possible that you have misunderstood our sect master? Yue Mingzhu stammered. She might not be as wicked as you imagine. She isn't wicked. She even used heavenly mountain silk just to deal with me. Fang Chen grumbled inwardly. However, since Yue Mingzhu was a member of the Hehuan Sect, it was inappropriate for him to rebuke the Hehuan Sect master in front of her. He could only perfunctorily reply, Perhaps, but no matter what, I cannot set foot in the Hehuan Sect. It will not be easy for us to meet again in the future. Farewell. Gazing at Fang Chen's gradually receding back, Yue Mingzhu felt a turmoil of emotions in her heart. Fang Chen would not come to Hehuan City, and she could not go to the Azure Cloud Sect to look for Fang Chen either, for the sect leader and elders of the Azure Cloud Sect would surely recognize her true appearance. How could a dignified sect master travel thousands of li to seek out a low-ranking disciple? That would bring unfavorable consequences for Fang Chen. After figuring this out, she was shocked to realize that just as Fang Chen had said, their future meetings could only depend on fate. If their luck was poor, they might never meet again in this lifetime. A bitter ache of losing someone important surged up in her chest. Watching as Fang Chen's back was about to vanish into the vast crowd, she bit her red lip lightly and immediately stepped forward to chase after him, calling out, Wait. The Hehuan Sect was inherently a place for cultivating the mind, and following one's heart's desires was their highest pursuit. As its sect master, Yue Mingzhu abided by this principle even more strictly. Is there anything else, Miss Yu? Fang Chen asked with a smile. He had already grown accustomed to this girl's unpredictable temperament. Yue Mingzhu let out a soft huff. You're going to rescue your senior sister, right? Do you need a helper? A very powerful one at that. Fang Chen laughed in spite of himself, but refused firmly. My senior sister went missing along with several other powerful disciples, which shows that the danger they encountered is no trivial matter. I may not even be able to protect myself, so if we run into peril, I might not be able to look out for you. Yue Mingzhu covered her mouth, barely suppressing a laugh. I am a sect master. Why would I need your protection? Rest easy. If we truly run into danger, it is still uncertain who will be saving whom. She suppressed her cultivation realm, revealing an aura of golden core realm tier 2. Sensing her aura, Fang Chen was greatly startled. You are at golden core realm tier 2. He had never expected that Yue Mingzhu possessed such strength. That is strange. Why have I never heard your name before? A doubt quickly crept into his mind. Having traveled to many sects, he had a general understanding of the top heaven's favored children of the 9 great sects. Someone at Golden Core Realm Tier 2 should rightfully be the chief disciple of a certain sect, or at the very least rank 2nd or 3rd. They ought to hold considerable fame among the 9 great sects, so it was impossible that he had never heard of them at all. Yue Mingzhu stuck out her tongue secretly. Fool, of course you haven't heard of it. This name is fake. She said nonchalantly, I have been in seclusion all this time and rarely go out. It would be strange if people in the outside world knew of me. Fang Chen thought for a moment. Though this explanation felt a bit forced, it was not entirely impossible. The 9 great sects were so vast that it was not unheard of for a sect to hide 1 or 2 exceptionally talented disciples and train them in secret. Fine, if you insist on coming, then be extra careful. At Golden Core Realm Tier 2, you should barely be able to protect yourself, Fang Chen said, still somewhat worried. Yue Mingzhu shot him a reproachful glance. Golden Core Tier 2 is barely enough. Back then in the Hehuan Sect's Master Hall, Fang Chen's full power strike was only around the level of Golden Core Tier 2, was it not? HMPH, let's see how I dampen your arrogant attitude along the way. She decided it was necessary to show off a little, so that Fang Chen would not underestimate her. The two rented a carriage, quickly departed from Giant City, and raced all the way towards the northern border of the Giant Sect while chatting along the way. Hey, Fang Chen, are you really not considering joining my Hehuan Sect? No, I am not. The master of the Hehuan Sect actually bears no ill will towards you. She simply values your talent greatly. I will advise her to revoke the bounty on your head later, so do not hold a grudge against her, all right. You hold great reverence for your sect master, don't you? You keep speaking in her defense. What makes her so extraordinary? She is stunningly beautiful, immensely powerful, lively and adorable, treats others with warmth and kindness, values bonds and righteousness above all else, and dares to love and hate as her heart dictates. Why are you staring at me like that? This is the first time I have seen someone praise another so fervently. I have only ever encountered narcissists praising themselves this way. However, these descriptors actually suit you far more appropriately. I am not that wonderful, really. The carriage wheels rumbled as they rolled over bluestone bricks, emitting a continuous creaking sound. The wind stirred the carriage curtain, and as it fluttered, a fair, blushing, beautiful face, glowing with warmth, flickered in and out of view. Several days later, they arrived at the northern border, the northernmost territory under the jurisdiction of the Giant Sect. Vast, boundless snow stretched as far as the eye could see, and the layered, towering mountain ranges were draped in pristine silver, blending seamlessly with the color of the earth. Only the undulating lines of the skies, scraping peaks, set against the crisp, washed azure sky, allowed one to distinguish them as a stretch of continuous, rolling mountain ranges. 1,000 lie of snow shrouded the land, and 10,000 paths were devoid of human trace. Yue Mingzhu stood atop the horse's back and gazed into the distance, saying, "No wonder this northern border is known as the forbidden zone of humanity. Apart from demonic beasts with unyielding vitality, no other living creature can survive here easily." Fang Chen also climbed out of the carriage, staring at the desolate northern border where nothing but snow existed as far as the eye could see, and could not help but feel a faint sense of shock. He had often heard people claim the northern border was a human forbidden zone, and had always thought the statement was greatly exaggerated. Now, after just a single glance, he felt a heavy sense of oppression weighing down on his chest. It was almost impossible to imagine how any human could possibly survive on a land covered entirely by endless snow. In stark contrast to the vast expanse of white snow was a small, bustling town wreathed in cooking smoke, embedded in the boundless snowfield like a tiny sesame seed. Yue Mingzhu pointed at it and said, "That is Sunset City, the last outpost of humankind." It was constructed by the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion as a military garrison to guard against the demon clan. Now it serves as the temporary war command city, personally garrisoned by a vice pavilion master. Fang Chen could feel the immense pressure weighing on this city. Ahead lay the endless tide of ferocious beasts, and behind it lay the territories of the 9 sects. If Sunset City fell, the 9 sects would face immediate destruction. He nodded and said, "We will enter the city to prepare some supplies, then change our mounts and set off again. The ice and snow up ahead are no longer suitable for carriages. Even riding horses may not be very convenient, I am afraid." As soon as they entered Falling White City, Fang Chen felt a distinct, chilling aura of slaughter. Calm-faced warriors of all kinds could be seen everywhere, many of them bearing wounds. They spoke little, moved in hurried steps, and their eyes occasionally glinted with killing intent. An invisible pressure washed over the two of them. Fang Chen said in a low, heavy tone, "The battle situation on the front line seems to be extremely fierce already." Yue Mingzhu nodded and said, "That is only natural. Elders from every sect have been deployed and are rushing to this location. Even some sect masters have already been conscripted here long ago." She caught sight of a figure and immediately ducked back into the carriage with a guilty expression on her face. Fang Chen was stunned. Who had she seen to be so flustered? Following the direction of her gaze, he spotted a middle-aged man clad in black robes with a 7-star sword slung over his back. He walked with the imposing gait of a dragon and tiger, exuding extraordinary aura, leading a group of disciples down the street. All surrounding pedestrians immediately stepped aside, not daring to block his path. The Supreme Sect Master, Fang Chen's expression was odd. He remembered this sect master vividly, the one who had single-handedly sparked the trend of reporting rule violations across the 9 sects. However, he turned his head to glance at the carriage and asked in confusion, "Do you have a grudge against the Supreme Sect Master?" It was not that Yue Mingzhu had a grudge against him, she was simply afraid of being recognized. "No, I just do not like him." Yue Mingzhu peeked secretly through the gap in the carriage curtain and only breathed a soft sigh of relief when she saw that the group had walked far away. Immediately after, she grew worried again. She had no idea how many sect masters had arrived in this city. If she ran into even one of them, she would never be able to explain herself, no matter what she said. "We must not linger long in this city." She leaped down from the carriage and spoke. "I shall go prepare rations and water. You swap out the horses. We will meet back here shortly." Fang Chen nodded. Splitting up to handle tasks would save far more time, and he was happy to oblige. He immediately drove the carriage alone to return it to the local branch of the Caravan Merchant Guild. To his complete surprise, no horses were for sale here. When he stated his purpose, the branch manager smiled as though this was a common occurrence. "Young master, this must be your first visit to Sunset City. Yes, if you wish to enter the northern territories on a mission, horses will not suffice. 10 lie outside Sunset City. The snow reaches up to one's neck. Even the tallest, sturdiest steed will vanish from sight the moment it steps into the drifts." Fang Chen was stunned. The environment deep within the northern territories was actually this harsh. Seeing that Fang Chen paid without hesitation, the manager was happy to share more information. To reach the northern territories, you can only ride a large-sized spirit beast. If your sect did not prepare one for you, you can only go to the command post to try applying for one. Among the 9 sects, only the spirit beast sect keeps a stock of spirit beasts. Where would the other sects get mounts for their disciples? Most can only apply for one at the command post. After confirming the location, Fang Chen thanked the manager and hurried to the command post. The command post was located right in the center of Sunset City Plaza. Before he even arrived, he spotted colossal creatures, several zhang to even over a dozen zhang in size from afar. They came in all strange forms: a sick, tall white horse with a sharp horn growing from its forehead, a deer-shaped spirit creature that neighed towards the sky, even a 2-headed camel-like beast whose 2 heads appeared to be bickering with each other. All were enormous in size, yet looked quite docile. "Martial uncle!" An incredulous exclamation rang out. Fang Chen was slightly taken aback. There were only a handful of people across the 9 sects who would address him this way. Glancing to the side, a stunning, graceful figure came into view. Who else could it be but Xia Chaoge? She wore a sky-blue long dress embroidered with water patterns, her slender, graspable waist tied gently with a white silk ribbon. She had a perfect oval face, skin as fine and fair as congealed fat, warm and glowing, a high, ridged nose, and cherry lips like dewy rose petals at dawn. The breeze brushed through her hair, carrying a casual, elegant air, while the sunlight gilded her slender form, leaving a hazy silhouette. As she stood there, the distant sky and snowy mountains faded into the background, freezing into a painting etched into eternity. Even Fang Chen was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "It has been a long time, martial niece." A hint of delight bloomed across Xia Chaoge's otherworldly, stunning jade face. Under the surprised gazes of onlookers, she trotted up to Fang Chen. "Martial uncle, you must write a letter scolding junior martial sister Yan. She treats the notebook you gave her like a priceless treasure, only letting me read 1 page each time. She's so stingy." She looked at Fang Chen resentfully, stamped her foot lightly, and huffed softly. Her attitude was so obvious, she might as well have carved the words, "Martial uncle plays favorites," onto her forehead. Fang Chen was stunned. He had no idea this girl could act coquettish, and he was a little flustered by it. He hurriedly said, all right. Once I return from completing my mission, I will write one for you too." Only then did Xia Chaoge smile, her eyes curving into crescent moons. "Thank you, martial uncle. I knew you would not play favorites." Countless disciples who witnessed this scene were left dumbfounded. Is that Xia Chaoge? I was about to ask the same thing. Isn't Xia Chaoge usually quiet and reserved, barely speaking to anyone, and she's acting coquettish? Am I seeing things? Xia Chaoge had always given others the impression of being calm, quiet, and detached from worldly disputes, rarely even smiling. This unexpectedly lively, even coquettish side of her completely overturned everyone's perception of her, sparking discussion and even jealousy among many male disciples. "Junior martial sister Xia, who is this junior martial brother? Why do you address him as martial uncle?" A young man wearing a pale golden robe, with jet black hair cascading over his shoulders and incomparably handsome features, walked over, asking with a face full of curiosity. Xia Chaoge glanced at the man, her face returning to its usual calm as she said, "This is Martial Uncle Fang." She immediately turned back to Fang Chen, her eyes once again filled with smiles. "Martial Uncle, have you also come to apply for a spirit beast? Have you registered your mission Jade Slip yet?" Command Post allocates spirit beasts based on mission difficulty. The higher the mission difficulty, the better the spirit beast you will receive. One could not simply pick whichever spirit beast caught their eye, but upon reflection, it made sense. Spirit beasts were essential means of transport, and extremely scarce. Without rules, disputes and fights would inevitably break out. Allocating them by mission difficulty left no room for complaints. "Who do I go to for registration?" Fang Chen looked around. Xia Chaoge said eagerly, "I will take you there, Martial Uncle." The golden, robed young man's face flushed alternately pale and red. In full view of the public, Xia Chaoge had treated him with such coldness. He would have minded less if she was always this way, but her expression shifted instantly when she looked at Fang Chen, filled with smiles and warmth, as if flipping a book. This stark contrast made many surrounding disciples snicker quietly. He pressed his warm face to a cold behind. He thinks just because he is the 10,000 Swords sect's chief disciple, Xia Chaoge will look favorably on him. The golden-robed young man suppressed his anger. He refused to believe that this Azure Cloud sect disciple, who looked even younger than him, could possibly have such an impressive background that Xia Chaoge would treat him so differently. Putting on a warm, amiable expression, he quickly followed after them and said, "Junior Marshal Brother Fang, I am Liang Feiyin of the 10,000 Swords sect. May I ask which elder of the Azure Cloud sect is your esteemed master?" Learning that he was a disciple of the 10,000 Swords sect, Fang Chen was a little more polite. After all, Senior Zhu Qingyong of the 10,000 Swords sect had treated him quite well. He stopped and cupped his fists in greeting. "Senior Marshal Brother Liang is too polite. My master is the Azure Cloud sect master, and I am his most disappointing disciple, Fang Chen." Liang Feiyin was stunned. Fang Chen, even though he spent most of his year in seclusion, the name sounded familiar to him. After thinking for a long while, he finally remembered who this was, and shock rose in his heart. Wasn't this fellow a person with no spirit root? Why would a stunning, supremely talented genius like Xia Chaoge treat someone like him differently? Liang Feiyin could barely accept losing to anyone else, but losing to someone like this left him unbearably frustrated. Glancing at the clearly displeased registration officer at the command post entrance not far away, he had a cunning idea and said, "Junior Marshal Brother Fang, what is your mission rank? If it is not very high, you should not court bad luck for now. That registration officer is a disciple of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. She seems to be in a very foul mood and is taking her anger out on anyone she dislikes. If your mission rank is low, she will scold you for wasting her time. Several people have already been shamed and left dejected by her just now." Hearing this, Xia Chaoge was also reminded of this, and said, "I almost forgot. What mission did you take, Martial Uncle? Spirit beasts are in severe shortage right now, and are only allocated to those performing high difficulty missions." Fang Chen was not sure whether his mission counted as difficult or not, but he froze when he looked at the girl at the command post entrance, who had her arms crossed over her chest, her cheeks puffed out as if everyone owed her money. He had just parted ways with Vice Pavilion Master Yu, only to run into his disciple right away. There were very few girls across the 9 sects that even the 10,000 Swords sect's chief disciple would fear. This girl was none other than Liu Qingxian's sworn rival, Nangong Zaiweihan. This was the girl who had lost twice in a row to Liu Qingxian. Fang Chen could not help but laugh and sigh at the same time, who provoked this little firecracker this time to make her so angry. From what he remembered, this girl had been arrogant and domineering even when she was by Yu Yunzi's side. Now that Yu Yunzi was not around, it was a classic case of when the tiger leaves the mountain, the monkey proclaims himself ruler. "Junior Marshal Brother Fang, are you scared?" Liang Feiyin smiled faintly. "Do not worry. I arrived in Sunset City early and have dealt with her several times. As long as your mission rank is not too low, she will show me some face and will not make things difficult for you." Hearing this, Xia Chaoge bowed slightly with folded hands. "I thank Senior Brother Liang on behalf of my martial uncle," she said. Her brows furrowed faintly, for she was deeply worried that Fang Chen would be assigned a mission of too low a rank. Naturally, she had full faith in Fang Chen's strength. After all, he was the man who had single-handedly crushed all the heavenly talents of the Taixing sect. Save for herself, the chief disciple of Taixing sect who had not entered the fray, every other elite disciple of the current generation had suffered a crushing defeat at his hands. With such prowess, undertaking a first-rank mission was entirely unproblematic. The trouble was, she had no way of knowing if the Hehuan Sect master would once again arbitrarily assign him a third-rank mission for no discernible reason. If that happened, Nangong Zioyan would definitely fly into a rage the moment she saw it. Nangong Zioyan's temperament was notoriously unruly. In all of Sunset City, only the Vice Pavilion Master stationed here could rein her in. Everyone else went out of their way to avoid her, for she was a veritable little tyrant. Now that Liang Feiyan was handling the matter, there was no cause for concern. He was one of the very few people who could actually get through to Nangong Zioyan. Liang Feiyan smiled faintly. There is no need for such formality, junior sister Xia. Since he is your martial uncle, he is naturally my friend as well. He was secretly rather smug. Martial uncle indeed. He still had to rely on my help to even get registered. He cared nothing for thanks. All that mattered to him was that he could subtly outshine Fang Chen in this exchange. Fang Chen was just about to say that he already knew Nangong Zioyan, but Liang Feiyan urged him forward until they arrived before the command post. Nangong Zioyan's face was dark with fury, her arms crossed over her flat chest, her eyes blazing with anger. Sensing someone approaching, she did not even spare them a glance and huffed, "Don't bother me with anything lower than a first-rank mission." Fang Chen rubbed his nose. This little hellion was truly lawless, with a temper as fierce as they came. Xia Chaoge also grew anxious. It seemed Nangong Zioyan was in an even fouler mood than usual today. She prayed Fang Chen would not run afoul of her ill temper and suffer a harsh, scathing tongue lashing, for that would be terribly humiliating. She glanced around and saw that many people had been startled by the commotion here, all of them casting gleeful, schadenfreude-filled gazes their way. Liang Feiyan also noticed that Nangong Zioyan's temper was unusually short today. He half wanted to back out, but since he had already boasted of his ability to handle this, he had no choice but to steel himself and press forward. He bowed with folded hands and said, "Senior Sister Nangong, it is I, Liang Feiyan." Nangong Zioyan glanced at him, and her anger abated a little, but her face remained stern as she asked, "What do you want?" Liang Feiyan said, "A friend of mine wishes to apply for a spirit beast." Nangong Zioyan held out her palm. "Give me the jade slip to inspect." Seeing this, Liang Feiyan let out a long sigh of relief. Judging by her tone, Nangong Zioyan was still willing to grant him face. Even if the mission was unacceptable, at least she would not speak harshly. Junior brother Fang. "Where is your mission jade slip?" Liang Feiyan urged. Fang Chen had already prepared the mission jade slip, and he placed it calmly into Nangong Zioyan's outstretched palm. Nangong Zioyan did not even spare the visitor a second glance. She picked up the jade slip and began reading the mission details inscribed upon it. "Investigate and rescue the Tay, who Lake Patrol Team mission rank." After finishing reading, Nangong Zioyan slammed her palm on the table and shot to her feet in an instant. "Finally, someone dares to take this mission. Who is it that has such courage?" Her gaze swept past Liang Feiyan to the people beside him. When she saw Xia Chaoge, she was slightly taken aback. When did this woman ever come to join in such chaos? But when she spotted Fang Chen standing beside Xia Chaoge, his hands behind his back and a faint, amused smile on his face, her eyes went wide with utter shock. Her mouth fell open in exaggerated surprise. Fang Chen, how could she ever forget this new junior brother that her master had explicitly stated he wished to take as a disciple? What left an even deeper impression on her was that Fang Chen had displayed unparalleled comprehension and numerous extraordinary talents, to the point that both she and her master had once assumed he was an elder of the Hehuan Sect. Fang Chen laughed and said, "Senior Sister Nangong has quite the ferocious temper, doesn't she?" Nangong Zioyan's expression froze immediately, and she was racked with guilt. "Junior brother Fang Th, that's not what it looks like. I'm not usually like this, really. My beloved spirit beast got hurt, that's why I'm in a bad mood." But the stunned gazes coming from all around her made Nangong Zioyan realize her flimsy excuse held no weight at all. She could not help but hang her head, clasping her small hands together in front of her chest, her big eyes glistening with tears as she said, "Junior brother Fang, please don't tell Master. If he finds out, hell come all the way from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion to spank me." The reason she was here in the first place was that Vice Pavilion Master you wanted to temper her unruly personality, so he dumped her in this desolate, harsh place. Who would have thought she would only grow worse, becoming a little tyrant here that made all the disciples complain loudly about her behavior? But no matter how much they complained, Nangong Zioyan was not afraid, for none of them had any way to contact Yunzi. Fang Chen was a different case entirely. He was her future junior brother, a genius held in high regard by her master, and could send a letter to her master exposing her misdeeds at any time. Fang Chen could not help but laugh and said, Your master is currently occupied with a matter of great importance. Even if he finds out, he will not have time to come looking for you for quite a while." Hearing this, Nangong Xiaoy let out a long sigh of relief, then frowned in confusion and asked, "Have you met my master before?" Fang Chen nodded. "We just parted ways at the giant sect." Nangong Xiaoyan grew even more wary, tucking her neck in as she held up 2 small fingers toward the sky. "Junior brother Fang, I swear I will definitely change. I will never throw tantrums at random again. Starting today, you can supervise me." Dead silence fell over the entire scene. This little overlord who feared nothing in heaven or earth had actually been subdued. Was Fang Chen not the spirit rootless disciple of the Azure Cloud sect? Where did such overwhelming deterrence come from? Moreover, judging from Nangong Xiaoyan's tone, he could even speak directly to Vice Pavilion Master Yu Yunzi, the legendary figure who was rarely seen by anyone. Fang Chen smiled faintly and said, "Your temper does need some mending. Everyone has traveled thousands of li to the front line to slay enemies and carry out dangerous missions, and are already mentally and physically exhausted. Your cold, harsh words will only dampen the morale of the troops." Being publicly reprimanded, Nangong Xiaoyan lowered her head in embarrassment, pursing her small lips as she said, "I already swore an oath. I will never do this again in the future. Can you please stop scolding me?" Fang Chen had only intended to give a gentle warning, so he naturally did not press the matter further, saying, "Then hurry up and register my mission. I am in a rush to enter the northern border." Nangong Xiaoyan heaved a sigh of relief, quickly leaning over the table to register Fang Chen's mission on the golden page of the ledger. "Registration is complete. I have registered you for a heaven-tier mission. Later, my uncle Zhuang will assign you the highest grade spirit beast available." With that, Nangong Xiaoyan raised her fist and lightly punched Liang Feiyin in the chest, laughing as she chided, "You rascal, you knew junior brother Fang this whole time. Why didn't you tell me earlier? If I had known, I would have looked out for you more in the past." Liang Feiyin staggered slightly in a daze, a stiff smile tugging at his lips. How had things turned out like this? The original plan was that Fang Chen would be lucky enough to receive Liang Feiyin's care and protection, but instead, it was Liang Feiyin who had struck immense luck by getting to know Fang Chen. This stark contrast made it hard for Liang Feiyin to accept. He was just a disciple without a spirit root. What was going on? Why did Nangong Xiaoy and respect him so much? What made him even more furious was that Xia Chaoge's eyes were sparkling as she said, "Martial uncle is really amazing. My earlier worry was completely unnecessary." This made Liang Feiyin feel even more awkward, for it was not only Xia Chaoge's worry that was unnecessary, but also his own arrogant presumptions. Fang Chen said humbly, "I just happen to know senior sister Nangong. It is nothing more than a coincidence." The crowd secretly grumbled in their hearts. There were plenty of people who knew Nangong Xiaoyan, but there was no second person alive who could subdue her into such an obedient, well-behaved girl. Just at that moment, another group of people arrived to apply for spirit beasts. Their auras were extraordinary, and all disciples stepped aside to make way for them wherever they passed. Fang Chen glanced sideways and saw that they were disciples of the Supreme Sect. Fang Chen even knew the person leading them. It was Lai Shiqian, the third, ranked disciple of the Supreme Sect. However, Lai Shiqian had undergone a complete transformation now. Back during the Supreme Sect Grand Competition, she was only at the peak of the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm. After going through the tempering of the frontline, she had successfully broken through to the Golden Core Realm. At this moment, she was leading several disciples with powerful cultivation bases to the command post. She spotted Xia Chaoge at a glance and immediately greeted her respectfully with a bow. "Senior Sister Xia, are you heading out on another mission?" Xia Chaoge's strength was a transcendent existence not only in the Supreme Sect, but across the entire 9 sect lands. After arriving at Sunset City, her performance had also been exceptionally stunning, successfully completing all manner of high-difficulty missions time and time again, winning immense glory for Supreme Sect. Lai Shiqian was arrogant and proud by nature, but she was extremely respectful and obedient only when facing Xia Chaoge. Let alone feeling jealous, she did not even have the slightest thought of comparing herself to Xia Chaoge, for the gap between them was simply too enormous. Xia Chaoge nodded calmly, as always, uttering a single syllable, "Mm." The corner of Lai Shiqian's mouth twitched slightly. Xia Chaoge was perfect in every way, except that she was unsociable, as if she was an immortal who did not partake of mortal food. The next moment, to her utter shock, Xia Chaoge turned her head, her beautiful eyes sparkling as she said, "Martial uncle, we are just waiting around anyway. Can you write the handwritten note for me right now?" Fang Chen was somewhat speechless. Is there really such a rush? Xia Chaoge grabbed his arm and shook it, acting coquettishly toward him. Fang Chen could not stand it and said, "Fine, fine, fine, I will write it right now." Lai Shiqian was completely stunned. Who was this woman acting coquettishly? She was practically unrecognizable. And then that man's voice. She followed the sound and looked over, and a face etched into her very bones, one that filled her with such humiliation she could shatter, came into view. Fang Chen, she let out a low, guttural roar. That defeat on that fateful day was an indelible stain on her honor. Fang Chen smiled faintly. "I trust you have been well since we last met, senior sister Lai." Lai Shiqian slammed her hand down on the hilt of her sword, wishing she could slice Fang Chen in two with a single strike. How dare he have the audacity to ask if she was well? "Senior sister, calm down, calm down." Several disciples behind her rushed to hold her back. Though Lai Shiqian had broken through to the Golden Core realm, she was by no means a match for Fang Chen. After all, Fang Chen had once effortlessly defeated Hehuan Sect, the senior brother who was also at the Golden Core realm. If they truly came to blows, Lai Shiqian would only suffer humiliation yet again. Seemingly realizing this, Lai Shiqian gnashed her teeth and released her grip on the sword hilt. Her face dark with fury, she snarled, "I will settle the score between us sooner or later." With that, she stormed off to find Nangong to register her mission. The surrounding disciples watched on with faces full of confusion. Why did Lai Shiqian seem to fear Fang Chen so much? Liang Feiyan also wore a puzzled expression. Lai Shiqian is already at the Golden Core realm. Why would she be afraid of Fang Chen? Could Fang Chen really be that powerful? But when he recalled that Fang Chen had no spiritual roots, he shook his head, his mind filled with utter confusion. Nangong was registering missions in an orderly manner. Entering the mission Lai Shiqian was about to undertake on the silver page. Lai Shiqian had no objections to this. But when she spotted Fang Chen's name prominently displayed on the golden page, she could not help but cry out in shock. "Junior sister Nangong, is there some mistake? How could Fang Chen be undertaking a heaven-grade mission? Is his strength even sufficient for it?" First-grade missions are also divided by difficulty. Hard ones, like the mission Fang Chen previously undertook to escort flying spirit beasts to the Hehuan Sect, came with immense peril along the way. Easy ones include slaying a few demonic beasts of specific ranks at the front line. They are categorized into 3 tiers by difficulty: heaven, earth, and mystic. Heaven-grade missions are the most difficult, but also award the most merit points, a full 300. Earth-grade missions award 200. Mystic-grade, which are ordinary first-grade missions, award 100. The mission to rescue the Hehu patrol squad was fraught with unknown dangers, and no disciple had dared to take it up until now. Its difficulty was naturally the highest heaven grade. Even disciples at the 3rd layer of the Golden Core realm would think twice before accepting a heaven grade mission. Could Fang Chen possibly have cultivation at the 3rd layer of the Golden Core realm? As soon as she heard someone raising doubts, Nangong's fiery temper nearly flared up, but she noticed Fang Chen standing nearby and forced herself to hold back, saying, "If you are dissatisfied, go complain to Vice Pavilion, Master Zhuang." Lai Shiqian pressed her lips together and did not dare to say another word. She could not afford to provoke this little tyrant. Filled with doubt, she glanced around at the people nearby, and only then learned that Fang Chen and Nangong were extremely close. So that was it. Lai Shiqian finally understood the reason. Using connections to get preferential treatment even on the battlefield was utterly despicable. She shot Fang Chen a look of utter contempt. An hour later, at midday, a gaunt old man with a face full of killing intent and a stern, unsmiling demeanor stepped out of the temporarily constructed palace command post. He was clad in armor, and faint, flickering threads of blood coiled around his body, visibly formed from the sheer number of demonic beasts he had slain. The sight made everyone's scalp tingle. Just how many demonic beasts had he killed to manifest such a strange phenomenon? "Vice Pavilion, Master Yi, this is today's Spirit Beast Application Registry." Nangong obediently presented the registry with both hands. This man was Yi Kangyuan, one of the Vice Pavilion Masters of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, stationed here. He took it with a blank expression, swept his gaze across the pages, and said, "There are few spirit beasts available today, only 10 slots. We will select the top 10 disciples, ordered from highest mission difficulty to lowest 10. All the disciples present, waiting to use a spirit beast, were stunned. Xia Chaoge had not intended to speak up, but when he saw Fang Chen standing nearby, he still offered an explanation. Martial uncle, the beast tied at the front line has been unusually fierce lately. The number of injured spirit beasts has skyrocketed, and the number of available spirit beasts decreases with each passing day. This situation will not improve until support from the spirit beast sect arrives. Fang Chen nodded. Just a moment ago, Nangong Zihuan had been crying to him about her own spirit beast being injured. It seemed that spirit beasts were indeed extremely scarce right now. 9 people on Earth, grade missions. Xia Chaoge, you will ride the single. Horned Spirit Horse, Liang Feiyan, ride the Gale Spirit Deer, Zheng King, ride the Firetail Spirit Sheep. Lai Shiqian's face twisted with unwillingness. She was exactly the 10th name on the silver page, the list of Earth, grade missions. But the mission she had accepted was extremely urgent. The opportunity would vanish in a flash. If she could not complete it today, going tomorrow would be completely meaningless. But she was just 1 slot short. At that moment they heard Yi Kangyuan speak again. 1 person on a heaven, grade mission, Fang Chen, you will ride the 5-colored spirit colt. Everyone's faces filled with envy. The 5-colored spirit colt was a spirit beast at the 5th layer of the Golden Core realm. Its strength was immensely powerful, needless to say, and its speed was as fast as lightning. It was one of the finest spirit beasts in Sunset City, and only the disciple with the highest difficulty mission that day had the chance to ride it. Hearing this, Lai Shiqian's face filled with resentment. Fang Chen had gotten his spot through connections, and now he actually got the 5-colored spirit colt on top of that. What's more, if he had not been inserted ahead of everyone else through back channels, Lai Shiqian would have been the 10th, and would have just barely received a spirit beast to complete her first grade mission today. Using backdoor connections and even disrupting her mission, how could Lai Shiqian tolerate this? She spoke immediately. Vice Pavilion Master Yi, this disciple Lai Shiqian formally reports that Fang Chen obtained his position through improper channels. Please thoroughly investigate his mission and deliver justice to all of us. Yi Kangyuan's gray long eyebrows twitched faintly. Back door. Do you mean to say that someone has pulled strings to sneak through the so-called back door straight onto this blood-soaked battlefield of sacrifice, and right before the face of this Vice Pavilion Master? As he spoke, his tone turned abruptly sharp, thick with chilling, killing intent. The entire field fell deathly silent in an instant. All knew how iron-fisted and merciless Yi Kangyuan was in enforcing military discipline. Everyone had experienced his methods firsthand. No one dared to falsify anything in front of him, for all those who had resorted to petty tricks had already paid a bloody price, some even losing their lives. When they suddenly heard Lai Shiqian accuse someone of pulling strings to cut corners, every person present felt their hearts skip a beat. Who could be so recklessly bold at this juncture, to the point of being reported directly to Yi Kangyuan? Many began whispering to one another. Fang Chen cutting corners, would he even dare? I don't believe it either, but he and Nangong Zihuan are far too close. Perhaps Nangong Zihuan, relying on her status as a member of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, fears no punishment and might have given Fang Chen extra benefits. I also find it off. Fang Chen is clearly a disciple with no spiritual root. Does his strength even qualify him to carry out a heaven-tier mission? Nangong Zihuan unfroze for a moment, then her face fell as she snapped. Lai Shiqian, what is the meaning of this? Accusing Fang Chen of pulling strings to cut corners is tantamount to accusing me of opening that back door for him, is it not? Lai Shiqian spoke calmly, neither humble nor arrogant. If you do not wish for others to know of your deeds, you should not have done them in the first place. Senior sister Nangong knows full well what you have done. No, my ass, she fumed angrily. Vice Pavilion Master Yi, she is framing me. Yi Kangyuan said no more, his cold gaze sharp as lightning as it swept across the crowd. Who is Fang Chen? The soft shout sent a jolt through every person present, tensing their heartstrings. Even Xia Chaoge couldn't help but sweat for Fang Chen. Could Nangong Zihuan unreally have secured a spirit beast for Fang Chen out of their close friendship? If that were true, Fang Chen would never be able to argue his way out of it, no matter what he said. Fang Chen, however, remained completely unperturbed. He cupped his hands in salute and said, "This disciple is present." Though he did not know exactly what tier his mission was, he recalled that when Nangong Zihuan had not yet recognized him earlier, she had remarked that someone had finally taken this mission. From that, he could infer that this mission was of no low tier, and Nangong Zihuan had no reason to unnecessarily cheat on his behalf. Yi Kangyuan sized up Fang Chen and nodded slightly. You remain calm in the face of trouble. Your mindset is quite impressive. All the uninvolved bystanders were so shocked that their expressions shifted, yet Fang Chen, the person at the center of the storm, stood as steady as a mountain. Such a temperament was indeed rare. If you are found guilty of cheating, this Vice Pavilion Master will punish you strictly according to the rules. If you have been wronged, this Vice Pavilion Master will secure justice for you. Yi Kangyuan's words rang out loud and clear, heavy with authority. Fang Chen's expression remained unchanged as he cupped his hands in salute. I ask that Vice Pavilion Master Yi investigate this matter fairly. Yi Kangyuan nodded, then turned his gaze to Lai Shiqian and asked, why do you believe Fang Chen pulled strings to cut corners? Lai Shiqian spoke with an expression of unconvinced indignation, reporting to Vice Pavilion Master Yi, I know full well how strong Fang Chen is. He is only at the first level of the Golden Core Realm. A Heaven tier mission requires at least the strength of the second level of the Golden Core Realm to complete. How, may I ask, would he dare accept such a mission? What is more, he and Nangong Xiaoye are extremely close privately, so this disciple has reason to suspect that he pulled strings to be registered for the Heaven tier mission with the aim of obtaining a spirit beast. I ask that Vice Pavilion Master Yi look into this matter thoroughly. Is that so? Yi Kangyuan was not very familiar with the elite disciples of the 9 sects, so this Fang Chen's strength was not among the top tier. Then him carrying out a Heaven tier mission was indeed worth questioning. Fang Chen, present your mission Jade Slip. This Vice Pavilion Master will see exactly what mission you have accepted. Yi Kangyuan commanded. A cold smirk tugged at Lai Shiqian's lips. Those who cheat will be exposed sooner or later. She could not be blamed for this. Liang Feiyan stared in stunned disbelief, muttering under her breath, it can't be, right, is Nangong Xiaoye unreally that foolish and reckless to tamper with mission registrations? If this is true, Fang Chen is in for huge trouble. The crowd also broke into heated discussion, all speculating what the punishment would be if the cheating was confirmed. Fang Chen calmly took out his mission Jade Slip. Please have a look, Vice Pavilion Master Yi. Yi Kangyuan snatched it over, and his expression shifted abruptly the moment his gaze fell upon its contents. He said, in a deep voice, do you truly intend to carry out this mission? Everyone present was stunned at those words. Could that tone mean there really was something wrong with the mission? Xia Chaoge's heart immediately leaped into his throat. Lai Shiqian wore a look of I knew it, and snorted softly, I told you so. He has no qualifications to carry out a Heaven tier mission. Being able to do an Earth tier mission is already the absolute limit for him. But the next sentence out of Yi Kangyuan's mouth made her expression freeze instantly. This mission, even among all Heaven tier missions, is classified as extremely dangerous. With your current strength, it will be nearly impossible to complete, and you will likely lose your life in the process. It really is a Heaven tier mission. Liang Feiyan stared at Fang Chen in stunned shock. Even he would not dare to lightly take on a Heaven tier mission, for every single one posed a huge threat to him and could easily cost him his life if he was not careful. Up until now, only Xia Chaoge and Jin Zhongming had ever accepted Heaven tier missions. Xia Chaoge had completed his, while Jin Zhongming had failed. Fang Chen was the third person to ever take on a Heaven tier mission. Lai Shiqian was taken aback and asked in disbelief, Vice Pavilion Master Yi, he really is on a Heaven tier mission. Yi Kangyuan tossed the mission Jade Slip to her. Lai Shiqian took it in disbelief, glanced at its contents, and could not help but exclaim in shock, ha. It is actually the mission to rescue the Tehu Patrol Squad. Wasn't this mission supposed to be upgraded and assigned exclusively to elders for execution? Certain missions of extreme difficulty that are far beyond the capability of ordinary disciples can only be entrusted to powerful cultivators to complete. As of now, no one dares to take this rescue mission, for every member of that 5-person squad possessed top-tier combat strength sufficient to complete heavenly grade missions alone, yet all of them vanished without a trace. The horror hidden behind this incident is too dreadful to contemplate. Who would dare to accept it? It could only be handled by the elders. No one ever expected that the mission Fang Chen had taken was precisely this one. Yi Kangyuan glanced at her. Do you still have doubts? Lai Shiqian's face flushed red, and she awkwardly returned the mission Jade Slip to Yi Kangyuan. This disciple misunderstood Fang Chen. This disciple takes her leave. She was so ashamed, she wished she could burrow into the ground. She had made such a huge fuss, firmly asserting that Fang Chen had cheated, only to find in the end that she had been far too self-righteous. Wait a moment. Fang Chen raised his hand to stop her. Lai Shiqian's almond eyes widened sharply. Get out of my way. Fang Chen said expressionlessly, Senior Sister Lai, you baselessly slandered me for cheating, making me the target of public criticism, wronging Nangong Xiaoyan, and even casting doubt on fairness of the spirit beast distribution. On a small scale, you have ruined my personal reputation. On a large scale, you have shaken the morale of the entire force. Do you think a single word of misunderstanding is enough for you to just walk away scot-free? The disciples who had just learned this was a misunderstanding were also full of complaints. She sounded so sure of herself. I actually thought there was a backdoor to getting spirit beasts. Fortunately, Fang Chen is an upright and honorable man. Otherwise, I would have been completely disheartened. Exactly, if there really was a backdoor for claiming spirit beasts who would follow the rules properly in the future. Lai Shiqian was both ashamed and furious, and she scolded softly, "You are a man, why are you so petty? It's not like you suffered any real harm." Those words made it sound as if Fang Chen was the one in the wrong. He had no interest in arguing with this woman, and said to Yi Kangyuan, "I ask Deputy Pavilion Master Yi to judge this matter fairly." Yi Kangyuan looked at Lai Shiqian indifferently. You have the right to doubt and report others, but you also have the obligation to admit your mistakes and apologize. Apologize to Fang Chen. Lai Shiqian could not accept this. Apologize to a man in public in front of the elites of the 9 sects over such a trivial matter. She bit her red lip lightly and argued quibblingly, "Deputy Pavilion Master Yi, Fang Chen is just making a mountain out of a molehill. If we encourage the arrogance of such petty scoundrels, what will happen if everyone follows his example in the future?" The crowd heard this, and their blood boiled with rage. "You slandered others, yet you call them petty scoundrels. This is utterly preposterous." Even Yi Kangyuan could not bear to listen any longer. He frowned and shouted in a deep voice, "I have no intention of repeating myself a second time." An invisible aura of majesty slowly pressed down upon her. Fear rose in Lai Shiqian's heart, but if she apologized just like that, where would her face go? If she had to apologize publicly to top geniuses of the 9 sects like Xia Chaoge, Jin Zhongming, or Liang Feiyan, that would be nothing. Their status and standing were already there. It would be no disgrace to apologize to them. But what was Fang Chen, a useless trash without a spirit root? Apologizing to him, and in public no less, would that not be a disgrace to her identity as a genius of the Taisheng sect? However, with Yi Kangyuan's pressure bearing down on her, she could only glare at Fang Chen full of defiance and say, "Fang Chen, I misunderstood you today. I can apologize to you, but not here, not now. I will apologize to you properly in private, and I can even give you a compensation gift. I hope you can understand my position." Fang Chen let out a cold, angry laugh. "When you slandered me, you made sure the whole world heard it. When it comes to apologizing, you only want me alone to hear it." He had never expected that a simple apology would turn into such a farce with this woman. If she had just had a better attitude, Fang Chen would not have pressed the matter at all. But the more she acted like this, the less he could allow her to get away with her behavior so easily. "Right now, right here, immediately," he commanded in a loud, resounding voice. Lai Shiqian was furious to the extreme. "Fang Chen, don't push your luck. Our sect master and my senior brother are all present here. Don't think that just because Xia Chaoge calls you martial uncle, you can ride on my head and act recklessly." She actually dared to threaten him publicly, putting on a show of refusing to bow down no matter what. However, this completely enraged Yi Kangyuan. Fury burned in his eyes, his robes billowed without wind, and he let out a cold, thunderous shout. "You are the one acting recklessly." Without any visible movement on his part, a terrifying pressure slammed down on Lai Shiqian like a raging tsunami. PFFT, Lai Shiqian's golden core, first layer, cultivation, was completely incapable of resisting this pressure, even a little bit. She was instantly slammed heavily to the ground, the immense impact making her spew out a large cloud of blood mist. She let out miserable groans, her eyes filled with utter terror. Yi Kangyuan had actually attacked her personally. She finally realized that her public threat had crossed Yi Kangyuan's bottom line. Paying no heed to her injuries, she hurriedly scrambled to her knees and said, This disciple knows her mistake." Yi Kangyuan said coldly, "You dare to openly threaten another disciple right in front of me, the Deputy Pavilion Master. Your sect master and your senior brother are that impressive, are they?" He flipped his hand and took out a thick roster, inscribed with the names of all disciples from the various sects participating in the missions. His old eyes swept over it, quickly found Lai Shiqian's name, and his finger mercilessly struck through it, erasing her name completely. "From today onwards, you are stripped of your qualification to participate in any missions. Return to your Taisheng sect at once." Lai Shiqian's face paled drastically in shock. Being stripped of mission qualification meant that while everyone else was fighting hard to earn merit points to exchange for massive amounts of cultivation resources, she could only watch on helplessly. Those stronger than her would grow even stronger, robbing her of any chance to catch up, while those weaker than her would advance by leaps and bounds and leave her far behind. This would completely alter the fate she was supposed to have. She was completely panicked and begged, "Deputy Pavilion Master Yi, this disciple knows she is wrong. This disciple will apologize to Fang Chen right now. Please take back your order, Deputy Pavilion Master." She had never expected that her status as a privileged genius that had always brought her benefits would not only fail to help her this time, but would bring such a terrible disaster down on her head. Yi Kangyuan put away the roster coldly and said, "No need. Since you are unwilling to apologize, this punishment will serve to give Fang Chen justice." Lai Shiqian panicked completely and screamed at the top of her lungs, "But this will ruin my entire life." Yi Kangyuan said coldly, "Spreading rumors to stir up trouble, slandering others for no reason, knowing full well you are in the wrong yet refusing to repent. Even that would only mark your flawed personal morality, but the most unforgivable sin of all is that you abused your power to bully others. A person like you, if allowed to remain on the battlefield, will bring harm to countless more. Every single person who came here fought through rivers of blood. They returned from the front lines, only to be slandered behind the lines. They came to demand an apology, yet they were threatened. Instead, threatened right before my eyes as the commander here, as the highest ranking commander guarding this region, he would never tolerate such an offense." Yi Kangyuan let out a cold snarl. Lai Shiqian's heart jolted, and she hurried away supported by several disciples of the Hehuan Sect. But before she left, the gaze she shot at Fang Chen brimmed with venomous resentment. Rage still festered in her heart. If Fang Chen hadn't been so nitpicky, would things have come to this? Fang Chen shook his head, truly hopelessly obstinate. Even now she thinks the fault lies with others. What should have been a simple apology, she escalated step by step, until she finally crossed Yi Kangyuan's bottom line. No one is to blame for this, but herself. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of Xia Chaoge hanging his head, his expression complicated, and a flicker of apology crossed his face. "I have put you in a difficult position. With your martial uncle on one side, you are caught in the middle, and it would be awkward to side with either party." Xia Chaoge shook his head and sighed softly. "I do not blame my martial uncle. This outcome for her was only a matter of time. Before this incident, she had already clashed with several disciples from other sects, more than half of which were caused by her impulsive, overly arrogant temperament. In the end, the sect master always stepped in to suppress the matter with his influence. Perhaps that is precisely why she grew arrogant and reckless, and inadvertently offended Vice Pavilion Master Yi. I only grieve for her natural talent. In anyone else's hands, such talent would have led to a far different fate. So many hardworking, aspiring disciples are held back by their aptitude, yet Lai Shiqian was dealt a perfect hand from birth and played it so poorly." With the matter settled, Yi Kangyuan returned to the main hall with an impassive face. All the disciples present fell silent in fear, each collecting their assigned spirit beasts and dispersing. Today they had witnessed firsthand what it meant to kill a chicken to warn the monkeys. No matter how proud a heaven's favored daughter you were, if you defied the rules, your right to carry out missions would be stripped immediately, leaving you to regret it for the rest of your life. Crack. In a certain courtyard, Hehuan Sect smashed the teacup in his hand violently, seething with rage. "Fang Chen goes too far. Over such a trivial matter, he forced my junior sister to lose her mission. Qualification, ruining her future." Lai Shiqian slumped on the ground, wept and wailed, her expression as aggrieved as could be. The several Hehuan Sect disciples who had escorted her back exchanged glances and sighed silently. Senior Sister Lai had not breathed a word of the fact that she had threatened Fang Chen right in front of Yi Kangyuan, invoking her elder brother the sect master. This was the root cause of her being stripped of her qualifications. Senior brother Hua was this furious, and the sect master seated above had a face so dark it looked like it would drip water. How dare they court misfortune by speaking the truth? Besides, given how the sect master had always favored Lai Shiqian, even if he learned the truth, he would still blame Fang Chen. There was truly no point in saying anything. "Master," Hehuan Sect grabbed the sword on the table, cupped his hands in salute, and said, "This disciple will go find Fang Chen right now to demand justice for my junior sister." The Hehuan Sect master's face remained sunken as he said, "Are you confident?" The muscles in Hehuan Sect's jaw twitched. No one would believe that when the renowned head disciple and senior brother of the Hehuan Sect master went to settle a score with the spirit root, less disciple, his own master would ask if he was confident of victory. Yet the reality was that he had once been defeated by Fang Chen. A humiliation seared deep into his soul. For over a month, every waking moment he had burned with the agony of that shame, devoting day and night to plotting how to avenge his humiliation and restore his honor. Today, the opportunity had arrived. Avenging his junior sister was nothing but a pretense. Wiping away that shame was his only true goal. Hehuan Sect cupped his hands in salute and said calmly, "Master, what are you saying?" This disciple has already broken through to the second layer of the Golden Core realm. On the other side, all the disciples had gone to collect their spirit beasts. Fang Chen was in a hurry to meet up with Yue Mingzhu, so naturally he would not wait around. Accompanied by Nangong, Xia and Xia Chaoge, he headed to the rear of the command post. From far away, Fang Chen spotted a multicolored horse, 10 zhang tall, looking like a walking high tower, its entire body radiating dazzling light. Its strength was exceptionally formidable, having reached the 5th layer of the Golden Core realm, far higher than Fang Chen's own cultivation. It was without a doubt an incredibly powerful, unstoppable spirit beast that every disciple coveted as a mount. Yet looking at its multicolored glow shimmering under the sun, Fang Chen couldn't help but rub his nose. Is this spirit beast any good to use? What is the mission track record of those who have ridden it? Liang Feiyan, who had come nearby to collect her spirit deer, heard this and was speechless. What a ridiculous question. With this beast's strength, it can trample most demonic beasts to death. Without its master even lifting a finger, how could it ever suffer defeat? If you have this beast, you can rest easy. Your mission will definitely be a resounding success. Is Fang Chen showing off in a reverse way here? However, Nangong Ziyuan had a strange look on her face. In theory, it should be all conquering, but in reality, over half of the missions taken by people who rode it ended in failure. Its failure rate is even higher than that of ordinary spirit beasts. Even Vice Pavilion Master Yi is puzzled by this. Liang Feiyan was stunned. There's such a thing. Xia Chaoge also wore a confused expression. I have heard people say as well that this beast seems to carry some bad omen. When I rode it, my mission was completed smoothly, but many people have reported that their missions failed when they rode it. As expected, Fang Chen mused. I would guess the completed missions were all rapid marches, while the failed ones were mostly long-term missions. Nangong Ziyuan rested her chin on her hand and thought carefully for a while, her eyes suddenly widening in shock. That's exactly how it is. The more urgent the mission, the more successful it was. While longer missions mostly ended in failure, Junior Brother Fang, why is that? Fang Chen stroked its multicolored pelt and said somewhat helplessly, this is a vast expanse of white snow plains. That multicolored glow would be easily spotted by demonic beasts from several light away. If you are launching a surprise assault, catching the demonic beasts off guard, it is no problem, as this beast's strength is enough to crush them. But if the mission drags on, the demonic beasts will have plenty of time to prepare, so naturally it will be difficult to achieve the mission objective. Nangong Ziyuan's face lit up with realization, so the root of the problem was the conflict between the beast's fur and the environment. No wonder the mission failure rate was so high for those who rode it. This multicolored spirit beast walking across the snow plains was practically yelling to all the demonic beasts, I'm coming to deal with you all, go hide well, or I'll fucking exterminate you. No wonder the missions were so hard to complete. Fang Chen asked, my journey to Tay, who is fraught with unknown dangers. This beast is far too conspicuous, riding it is definitely a bad idea. Are there any disciples taking on short-distance missions? I want to swap spirit beasts with one of them. Nangong Ziyuan looked troubled. Once spirit beasts are assigned, private swapping is forbidden, to avoid both parties shirking responsibility if the spirit beast gets injured. As she spoke, her little face darkened, and she huffed. I once lent my personal spirit beast to a disciple, who then lent it to someone else. As a result, the spirit beast was injured by accident. And the two of them shirked responsibility over the expensive treatment cost, refusing to take blame. I ended up having to pay for the beast's treatment myself. Fang Chen was enlightened. No wonder Nangong Ziyuan was so irritable today, looking like everyone owed her money. As it turned out, someone actually did owe her money. No one would be in a good mood after running into such an annoying mess. Then, why don't you lend me your spirit beast? Fang Chen's eyes lit up. If it gets injured, I will definitely not shirk responsibility. Hearing this, Nangong Ziyuan stamped her foot. Am I that stingy? I was angry because those two guys were irresponsible. Besides, given our relationship, I would never ask you for any compensation. She paused, then sighed again. But you can forget about my spirit beast. Whether it even survives depends on its luck. Its injuries are very severe. Fang Chen blurted out in surprise. Xia Chaoge nodded slightly. I already examined it. Its injuries are indeed grave. It was most likely attacked by a demonic beast that shattered its heart. Only its formidable physique allowed it to hold on long enough to return to Sunset City, but its condition remains critical. Right now, it can only rely on human healing medicinal elixirs to stay alive. Whether it recovers or not depends entirely on its self-healing capabilities. When demonic beasts are injured, they do not have access to healing medicinal pills like humans do. To offset this, the natural recovery ability of demonic beasts far surpasses that of humans. However, recovery capabilities vary wildly between different species of demonic beasts, and there is no guarantee that Nangong Zayoi, a spirit beast, has enough self-healing power to survive the calamity. Hearing these words, Nangong Zioyan's heart ached. My mother gave it to me before I left for the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, saying that with it by my side, I would never feel lonely. I have always cherished it so much, I never thought. By the end of her sentence, her eyes were swimming with tears, and her voice had grown choked with sobs. Fang Chen patted her head. Take me to see it. Perhaps I can heal it. Xia Chaoge was bewildered. The medical arts his martial uncle cultivated were intended solely for treating humans. Demonic beasts had wildly varied physiologies, a completely uncharted domain where human medical techniques were utterly useless. Could his martial uncle also be skilled in treating beasts? Tears streaming down her face, Nangong Ziyoi nodded vigorously. Come with me. The group made their way toward the corner of the square. Liang Feiyan scratched his head, reluctant to go along. Seeing how warmly Xia Chaoge was accompanying Fang Chen, a wave of discontent rose in his chest, but he gritted his teeth and followed after them anyway. A massive tent stood in the corner, its interior completely empty. Fang Chen was taken aback. Where is your spirit beast? Nangong Zioyan called softly to the empty air inside the tent. Zio Bai, I brought a friend to see you. Under Fang Chen's watchful gaze, the air suddenly rippled, and a small heifer clad in snow-white scales materialized out of thin air. It possessed the power of invisibility. Fang Chen was startled, then his interest was immediately piqued. This beast was without a doubt the ideal mount for completing their upcoming mission. Of course, calling it a small heifer was only in comparison to fully grown ox demons. Its 3 tall frame was hardly small by any other measure. However, at that moment it lay weakly on the ground, and when it saw Nangong Zayoi approach, it flicked its oxtail and spoke in a soft, childlike, clear human voice. Master Zio, I think I'm going to die soon. Fang Chen activated his Kai sight technique to examine its internal organs, and found that just as Xia Chaoge had said, its heart was covered in dense, countless cracks, continually oozing blood. He said it is a true miracle that it is still alive with its heart so badly damaged, but judging by its condition, it will never recover relying solely on self-healing. Hearing this, Nangong Zioyan grew sorrowful again. She turned to look plaintively at Liang Feiyan and said in a quiet, mournful tone, Can you really not sell me a single rejuvenation elixir? Just one. As things stood, the only thing that could save Xia was the legendary rejuvenation elixir, said to be capable of nearly raising the dead. Not long ago, when she heard that the 10,000 Swords sect had spent 600,000 spirit stones to buy 3 healing medicinal pills, she had laughed until her sides hurt while far away in the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, thinking the people of the 10,000 Swords sect were fools with more money than sense. But it was only after a recent incident that shook all of Sunset City that she realized how far-sighted the members of the 10,000 Swords sect truly were. A short while ago, Ling Gihai, the second disciple of the 10,000 Swords sect, was gravely injured while carrying out a mission. His wounds were so severe that no ordinary healing pill had any effect, and he was moments away from drawing his last breath, hanging on by a thread. At that critical moment, an elder of the 10,000 Swords sect, gritting his teeth at the cost, took out a rejuvenation elixir and gave it to him to consume. In merely half an hour, not only had Ling Gihai come back from the brink of death, he had fully recovered. It was nothing short of a miracle. Raising a talent like Ling Gihai required the sect to pour in countless resources, and even spending 1,000,000 spirit stones was no guarantee of success. The value of a rejuvenation elixir, costing only 200,000 spirit stones, was self-evident. After this incident, the reputation of the rejuvenation elixir skyrocketed. Several sects sought to buy the remaining 2 rejuvenation elixirs from the 10,000 Swords sect, with one even offering 1,000,000 spirit stones, but all were flatly refused by the 10,000 Swords sect. At this point, a rejuvenation elixir was equivalent to an extra life, let alone 1,000,000, even 2 or 3,000,000 spirit stones would not make the 10,000 Swords sect consider selling one. The reason Liang Feiyan had not wanted to come here was precisely because he feared Nangong Zioyan would make this request. He gave a bitter smile. Senior Sister Nangong, you have already asked the elders of my 10,000 Swords sect. Why ask me? Those 2 rejuvenation elixirs are already treated as divine elixirs. Not only do I have no authority over them, even our sect master must request permission from the supreme elders before daring to use one. Unless I am at death's door like junior brother Ling, I will never be allowed to so much as touch a rejuvenation elixir in my entire life. Xia Chaoge sighed softly. Senior Sister Nangong, do not make things difficult for Senior Brother Liang. This elixir is truly extraordinarily miraculous. At this critical juncture, calling it a divine elixir is no exaggeration. Back then, my master personally appraised these very elixirs, but now, even he was firmly refused when he asked the 10,000 Swords sect to let him see one again, and for that. My master regretted it for a long time, saying he should not have been scared off by the high price of 200,000 spirit stones back then, letting the 10,000 Swords sect get such a good deal. Xia Chaoge thought back to the itinerant auction held by the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion in Azure Cloud City, and sighed heavily. No one could have predicted that those 3 rejuvenation elixirs would become such revered divine treasures now. Back when the 10,000 Swords sect spent 600,000 spirit stones to buy all 3, they were mocked and ridiculed by countless people. Now every sect that attended that auction is kicking themselves in regret. Unfortunately, those 3 rejuvenation elixirs became a legendary one-time offering. None have appeared on the market ever since, and the only 2 remaining are held entirely by the 10,000 Swords sect. I know, Nangong Zayoi, and sighed softly. She was perfectly aware that a mere disciple had no authority over such a divine elixir. Even if her master, Yu Yunzi, came to ask in person, the 10,000 Swords sect would not necessarily grant the request. I was just pretending I was doing everything I could. Tears welled up in her eyes again as she knelt in front of Zayubai, mocking herself bitterly. A chaotic mix of sorrow, grief, and self-blame roiled in her chest. Liang Feiyan breathed a quiet sigh of relief. It was good that she did not blame him. He truly could do nothing about the elixir. Thank you for intervening, junior sister Xia, Liang Feiyan spoke softly. Failing to save Little White was no sign of his incompetence. No one who arrived could have done a thing, a fact Xia Chaoge also saw clearly. Xia Chaoge gave a noncommittal tilt of her chin, paying him no mind, for her full attention was fixed entirely on Fang Chen. Hearing Nangong Zayoi and sorrowful sobs, she first soothed Fang Chen in a gentle voice. Martial uncle, do not blame yourself. Medical arts have their limits, and this is a demonic beast besides. Our human healing methods were never suited to treat it. It was Fang Chen who had insisted on coming to examine it. Now that he had confirmed it was beyond saving and stirred up Nangong Zaioi's grief all over again, he would surely feel at least some measure of guilt. I never planned to heal it with ordinary medical arts. Fang Chen spoke calmly, then stepped unhurriedly before Little White and said, Senior Sister Nangong, step aside please. I will treat its injuries. Nangong Zaioi's eyes flew wide. Did you not say it was beyond saving? Fang Chen replied, I only said it could not recover on its own. I never claimed I had no way to save it. At this, both Liang Feiyan and Xia Chaoge were stunned. Liang Feiyan muttered under his breath, Does this fool not know how severe Little White's wounds are? How dare he make such a reckless boast? Is he not afraid the greater Nangong Zaioi's hope grows, the more crushing her disappointment will be, leading her to resent him? Xia Chaoge warned carefully, Martial uncle, senior sister Nangong, has already tried every other method, including the finest healing medicinal pills available on the market. As things stand, only the rejuvenation pill holds any hope of saving it. Fang Chen nodded, saying, Judging by its injuries, apart from the rejuvenation pill, there is indeed no other viable solution. Xia Chaoge grew even more bewildered. You know full well there is no other way, so why are you giving Nangong Zaioian false hope? Liang Feiyan could not help but feel exasperated, saying, Junior brother Fang, stop holding out hope for our myriad sword sect's rejuvenation pill. I cannot help you obtain that divine treasure in the slightest. Do not make things difficult for me. His assumption was hardly unfounded, for the only 2 rejuvenation pills in existence were held by the myriad sword sect. Who would have expected Fang Chen to reach into his sleeve, and moments later pull out a verdant green medicinal pill, exuding a rich, fragrant pill aroma and surging, vibrant life force? The dying Little White, sprawled on the ground, abruptly snapped its eyes wide, as if sensing this pill was extraordinary and could save its life, letting out excited snuffling sounds from its snout. Nangong Zaioian wore a confused expression. Junior brother Fang, what kind of pill is this? Is it also a healing medicinal pill? She had never seen a rejuvenation pill before, so naturally she did not recognize it. Xia Chaoge and Liang Feiyan, however, had both seen one before. The instant the pill was revealed, both were simultaneously stunned. Even the perpetually calm Xia Chaoge cried out in shock. Rejuvenation pill. Her face was filled with utter confusion. How could Fang Chen possess such a divine treasure? Liang Feiyan also froze for a long moment, before roaring sharply, Where did you get this medicinal pill? His first instinct was that Fang Chen had stolen it from the Myriad Sword Sect. After all, only the Myriad Sword Sect held this pill. But on second thought, who could possibly steal this pill, let alone dare to use it right in front of him? The Myriad Sword Sect's chief disciple. Fang Chen gave him a sidelong glance, then stepped before Little White and said, "Open your mouth." Little White immediately obeyed, opening its jaw wide. With a flick of his finger, Fang Chen shot the medicinal pill into its mouth without the slightest hesitation. Nangong Zioi and cried out in alarm, "Little White, spit it out right now, hurry." She then turned to scold Fang Chen. "Junior brother Fang, how could you give such a precious rejuvenation pill to a spirit beast?" Though she had dearly wished to obtain one to save her own spirit beast, that would only have been acceptable if she had purchased the rejuvenation pill herself, not if it meant sacrificing Fang Chen's life, saving trump card like this. Even a fool could tell that Fang Chen likely only had this one rejuvenation pill at most. How could he waste it saving the life of a spirit beast? Xia Chaoge also reached out a hand to stop him, thinking Fang Chen was being utterly irrational. This was a life-saving treasure. Even if he was close to Nangong Zaoyan, it was absolutely not worth expending on her spirit beast. Liang Feiyin drew in a sharp, shocked breath. You fed it to a beast. Fang Chen, you have gone completely mad. That is a divine treasure, a treasure that cannot be bought with any amount of gold. A single pill is enough to purchase a spirit beast exactly like Little White. Little White hesitated for a moment, then obediently tried to spit out the rejuvenation pill. Fang Chen waved his hand, saying, "Eat it. I have full authority over this medicinal pill." He clamped a hand over Nangong Zaoyan's mouth to stop her from speaking further. Little White stared deeply at Fang Chen for a long moment, then chewed hard, crushing the rejuvenation pill. By the time Nangong Zaoyan tried to stop it, it was already too late. She could only watch helplessly as Little White swallowed the pill down. A miraculous scene unfolded before the group's eyes. The weakened Little White recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its breathing grew steadily stronger, its heart beat gradually more powerful. After the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, it could already shift its body, and after half an hour, it had stood up entirely, bouncing around joyfully. "Master, master, I'm completely healed," the little cow said in a soft, childish voice. Nangong Zaoi unwept tears of joy. She stroked the cow's long, slender legs, pondered for a long time, then spoke as if she had made a firm, unshakable decision. "Little White, from now on, you will follow another master." She pointed at Fang Chen, saying, "He saved your life. Your life belongs to him now. Obey his orders obediently from this day forward." Though she was racked with reluctance to part with it, this was the only way she could compensate Fang Chen for the rejuvenation pill he had used. Hearing this, Little White said fearfully, I don't want to. He's not my master." As it spoke, it snapped at Fang Chen fiercely. "I don't want you as my master. If you dare to ride me, I'll burn you to ash." Whoosh, a layer of scarlet flame suddenly erupted across its body, burning with such extreme heat that even cast iron would melt into molten liquid if tossed into it. If anyone was foolish enough to test their luck and try to sit on its back, there was no question that their little test would end with them being reduced to a charred corpse. Little White Nangong Zaoi unsnapped angrily. "Stop being so willful." Xiao Bai was extremely stubborn, retorting, "I refuse. I would rather die first." Fang Chen could not help but chuckle softly. Truly one takes after the company they keep. Anyone who spends time around Nangong Zaoyan ends up with the exact same temper, carved from the same mold. Nangong Zaoyan's face flushed red as she stamped her foot. "I am nothing like that." She then glared at Xiao Bai in annoyance. "If you keep misbehaving, I will abandon you." Realizing he had truly angered Nangong Zaoyan, Xiao Bai retracted the flames wreathed around his body, padded up to her, and nuzzled her affectionately with his massive head, saying plaintively, "But I do not want any other master." Fang Chen laughed. "Even if you wanted to be my spirit beast, I might not be willing to take you in. I saved you only because I need you for a mission. Once the beast tide ends, you can return to your master's side. Until then, you will follow my orders." He was not angered by Xiao Bai's lack of gratitude. Xiao Bai was a demonic beast, after all. Gratitude was a human moral standard that did not apply to beasts. What is more, Xiao Bai was still in his juvenile phase and knew even less of such matters. "What do you mean by that? You look down on me." Crimson flames erupted from Xiao Bai's body once more in a puff. But after hearing the rest of Fang Chen's words, he retracted his flames again and asked, "You will let me go once the beast tide ends?" "Really?" Fang Chen wore a faint, amused smile. "So, are you willing to come with me now?" Xiao Bai wrinkled his bovine snout. He knew full well that acting as Fang Chen's mount was an enormous advantage for him, but he felt disgruntled at the sight of Fang Chen's confident, everything is under control demeanor. Serving as your mount temporarily is fine, Zio Bai nodded, then abruptly changed his tone, but you must have the strength to protect me. Do not be like that last martial artist who ran off and abandoned me when demonic beasts attacked, forcing me to turn around and protect him instead. Thinking back to the experience that led to his injuries this time, Zio Bai still had lingering psychological trauma. Encountering an unreliable martial artist was truly a death sentence. An intrigued look crossed Fang Chen's face. My strength should be passable. Do you want to test it? Zio Bai retreated several dozen zhang, scarlet flames rising from his body, and said, If you can withstand 10 strikes from me, I will admit you are capable. Immediately after, a formidable demon Kai emanated from within his body. Fang Chen was startled. Golden Core 3rd layer, to have such a cultivation realm before reaching adulthood. How much more terrifying would he be when fully grown? Coupled with his invisibility ability and extremely powerful flame attacks, Zio Bai seemed to be an exceptionally rare and powerful demonic beast species. What, are you scared? Zio Bai huffed. If you cannot even block 10 strikes, do not embarrass yourself here. Nangong Zaoi, and scolded lightly, Zio Bai, stop this nonsense, blocking 10 strikes from a Golden Core 3rd layer demonic beast. Scouring the entire lands of the 9 sects, the number of young generation cultivators who could achieve this feat likely did not exceed 10. Liang Feiyan rubbed his nose, a look of schadenfreude on his face. Junior brother Fang, this white void jade ox is a heaven-born rare species. Taming it will not be easy. Why do not you ask senior sister Nangong for some other compensation to make up for the loss of your rejuvenation pill instead? What little strength did Fang Chen have to think he could last 10 rounds against a Golden Core 3rd layer, white void jade ox? Even he, himself, would have to unleash 70 to 80% of his full strength to barely pull it off. Fang Chen was about to lose both ways, gaining nothing at all. Xia Chaoge also sighed softly. She had thought that one rejuvenation pill would solve all problems, but who would have expected that after this injury, the white void jade ox had developed a resistance to all martial artists, other than its own master. Martial uncle, why do not I subdue the white void jade ox for you, and accompany you on this mission? At this point, this was the only solution she could think of. How could Fang Chen let her delay his mission? He looked at the provocatively postured white void jade ox with a playful expression. It is good to understand your strength first, so we can coordinate properly when we encounter danger. Even if Zio Bai had not proposed this test, he would have sought to understand Zio Bai's true strength anyway, as it would benefit both of them. Zio Bai said, You better be careful, I am very powerful. He then lashed out with a hoof. His ox leg was a full 2 zhang long, giving him an overwhelming advantage against human martial artists. Fang Chen only saw a flurry of afterimages before the ox hoof was about to slam into his head. Liang Feiyan laughed secretly in his heart. This fool better not have half his life beaten out of him with one strike. The strength of a Golden Core 3rd layer ox demon was far beyond what the flesh and blood of a martial artist of the same realm could withstand. Seeing that Zio Bai had attacked so recklessly, Nangong Zaioi's heart jumped into her throat. Even the usually calm and quiet Xia Chaoge instantly gripped the sword at her waist, her gentle eyes abruptly flashing with sharp, piercing light. Crack, a deafening, muffled boom that made one's chest feel tight suddenly rang out. When the crowd focused their gaze to look, their expressions all turned odd. Fang Chen stood in place with one hand behind his back, having only casually raised his right hand to block the ox hoof that was several times larger than his head. The violent collision produced a fierce gale that tossed Fang Chen's black hair and made his white robes flutter loudly, but his expression was completely relaxed. You have some strength, continue. Ah, Nangong Zaioi's mouth fell open in utter disbelief. He was actually this powerful, was he not a new disciple of Hehuan Sect? Even though she had interacted with Fang Chen once before and knew he had many extraordinary traits, she was still stunned by this display. Liang Feiyan was stunned, his pupils shaking violently. This physical physique can actually clash head on with a 3rd layer Golden Core realm demonic beast. It can even compare to Zhu Wanzhong, who awakened his ancient bloodline. No, it is likely even stronger than Zhu Wanzhong. Zhu Wanzhong might not be able to handle this so easily. He never expected that Fang Chen had cultivated such an astonishing physique. Fortunately, he has no spirit roots, so he can only practice body refinement for his entire life. But the higher one goes in body refinement, the harder it is to make progress with very limited achievements. Reaching his current level is already his limit. Thinking of this, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. Little White also widened its huge ox eyes, never expecting that among the younger generation of martial artists, apart from that terrifying fellow named Jin Zhongming, there was actually someone who could take one of its strikes head on with just their physique. It grew somewhat annoyed, saying, "Don't get cocky." With a low snort, terrifying scarlet flames surged out from its body, carrying a bizarrely high temperature capable of melting even iron. But before it could convert the raging flames into an attack, Fang Chen struck first. He drew the Morning Frost sword on his back with a reverse grip and slashed through the air. Heaven and earth starfall. Extreme cold accompanied by sharp sword Kai engulfed Little White entirely. The surging flames, along with its enormous body, were instantly frozen into a massive ice sculpture. Nangong Zioyan covered her mouth in shock, her eyes wide as walnuts. He could even freeze Little White's flames. That mysterious ice sword, paired with an earth-grade sword technique, has simply terrifying power. Liang Feiyan's heart shook violently. What is going on? Foundation Establishment Realm 9th Layer Perfection. Isn't he supposed to have no spirit roots? Also, what's with the power of that sword strike? Even a 3rd layer Golden Core Realm martial artist would not dare to underestimate it. Right. That rootless outcast he looked down upon actually hid such shocking strength. Asterisk crack, asterisk Little White trembled all over, shattering the ice covering its body to pieces. Its eyes were filled with shame and rage. A dignified 3rd layer Golden Core Realm Ox Demon was actually suppressed so casually by a Foundation Establishment Realm martial artist. It roared furiously, "Let's go again, primal wild charge." It scraped its hind hooves against the ground, lowered its ox head, and charged straight at Fang Chen with an earth-shattering impact. Fang Chen chuckled. "We agreed to test each other's strength. How did this turn into a battle for honor halfway through?" He showed no fear, raised both fists, and struck directly at the huge ox head. On, Heaven Battler, asterisk boom. Asterisk the terrifying shockwave sent both Nangong Zioyan and Liang Feiyan stumbling backwards repeatedly. Not only did Little White's 30-foot huge frame fail to send Fang Chen flying, it was even blasted back several unsteady steps. Little White let out a series of hissing gasps, clearly having been struck in pain. Fang Chen said, "You've taken 3 strikes. It's my turn now, right? Overwhelming dragon regret." The multicolored finger strike landed on Little White, immediately making it howl in pain. But Fang Chen had no intention of stopping. Since he had made his move, he would beat it into complete submission. Thunder Dragon Lightning Leg, Tiger Roar Dragon Sing, 9 Poisons True Scripture. Under Fang Chen's full power offensive, Little White was beaten rolling all over the ground, only able to take hits with no power to fight back at all. Nangong Zioyan was dumbfounded with shock. This is what kind of terrifying strength? He's directly crushing a 3rd layer Golden Core demonic beast in battle. Liang Feiyan's forehead broke out in cold sweat. He was also only at the 3rd layer Golden Core realm. If he were in Little White's place, his fate would be no better at all. He would definitely be pressed into the ground and trampled on, with no ability to resist at all. Fortunately, Fang Chen bore no hostility towards him. Liang Feiyan thought secretly with relief. Otherwise, making such a powerful enemy would make one's scalp tingle just thinking about it. Glancing at Xia Chaoge beside him, he moved a few steps further away, deliberately keeping some distance. He would not be so foolish as to fight Fang Chen over a woman. At the same time, he suddenly understood why Xia Chaoge treated Fang Chen differently. He had the qualifications to do so. The strength Fang Chen was showing now, if you looked across all 9 sects, probably only Xia Chaoge could definitely win against him. Even Jin Zhongming and that missing chief disciple of King Hehuan Sect, whose life or death was unknown, might not be able to suppress him. While the fierce battle was ongoing inside the tent, the disciples lingering on the square suddenly changed their expressions. A figure as straight as a spear, carrying a 3-foot green blade, was approaching menacingly. "Hurry, leave, that's Hehuan Sect, the senior disciple of Hehuan Sect. I knew it. After Lai Shiqian suffered such a huge loss, Hehuan Sect would definitely react. Hehuan Sect is definitely here to settle accounts with Fang Chen. He's in a fit of rage right now. Let's stay far away and not get on his bad side." The throngs of disciples scattered like startled birds and beasts, no one daring to provoke Hehuan Sect in his current state, including Lai Shiqian, who was following behind him. She had long stopped sniveling, following behind him with a cautious look on her face. Having known him for so long, she knew Hehuan Sect's temper. He was usually gentle, so this murderous look he had now was absolutely unprecedented. Of course, she knew full well that Hehuan Sect was not just here to avenge her. He wanted to defeat Fang Chen to wash away the shame of his earlier defeat. "Senior brother Hehuan, don't be impulsive later." Lai Shiqian was somewhat worried about Hehuan Sect's current state. If he struck too hard and killed Fang Chen, that would cause a huge disaster, not to mention what Yi Kangyuan, who was guarding this place, would do. King Yun's sect alone would never let it go. At that time, would she, the one who started all this, be able to escape? Hua Zhangchen did not even turn his head, his face as cold as iron. He hurt you so badly, and you want me not to be impulsive. Lai Shiqian had a headache. Clearly, you're making a move for your own humiliation, but if something goes wrong, I'll be the one taking the blame. She reminded him, Senior Brother Hua, just teach him a harsh lesson later to vent your anger. Don't strike too hard. Senior Sister Xia is protecting him. If you push him too far, she will also make a move. She only hoped that Fang Chen would pay the price he deserved, be seriously injured and regret what he had done but not die. Hua Zhangchen laughed angrily. So what if Senior Sister Xia is protecting him? Today, no one who comes can save him, I swear it. Soon, after searching for a while, they detected the sounds of fighting coming from the corner. Hearing Fang Chen's familiar voice, Hua Zhangchen trembled with excitement. I've finally waited for this day. I will avenge my humiliation, use Fang Chen's crushing defeat to wash away the outrageous shame I suffered that day. He was so excited that the muscles on his face twitched, and his features twisted uncontrollably. Lai Shiqian was startled. Someone is definitely going to die. Senior Brother Hua, let's come back another time. She thought it would be better to find someone else to deal with Fang Chen. Hua Zhangchen's murderous look was not fake at all. Hua Zhangchen turned his head around and said viciously, Stop getting in the way. Wait here. You are not allowed to come in without my permission. Saying that, he gripped his green blade tightly, his teeth grinding so hard they creaked, and strode like thunder into the huge tent, his excitement soaring. Fang Chen, before he even saw the man, he roared through gritted teeth. But when he saw the scene before him, his expression froze completely. Fang Chen was unleashing wave after wave of terrifyingly powerful moves that made him feel suffocated, beating a 30-foot-tall white ox until it fled in panic. He recognized that white ox. It was Nangong Zayoi, and spirit beast, the white void jade ox, a powerful demonic beast with strength as high as the third-layer golden core realm. Once, when he was out on a mission, he was chased miserably by a second-layer golden core demonic beast. The white void jade ox happened to pass by, and casually kicked the vicious demonic beast's head to pieces with one hoof. Since then, the white void jade ox had left an indelible memory in him. Every time he thought back, he was awed by its invincible strength. But what was he seeing now? The mighty white void jade ox was being beaten until it wailed non-stop. Stop hitting me! The white void jade ox was truly beaten into submission, hiding behind Nangong Zioyan, its eyes filled with fear as it looked at Fang Chen. This was far from it testing Fang Chen's strength. It was clearly Fang Chen testing its damage resistance. Only then did Fang Chen stop, saying with satisfaction, You took so many strikes from me and didn't suffer any serious injuries. You're plenty tough. Perfect for a mount. Are you convinced now? The white void jade ox nodded its huge ox head repeatedly. I will obey you obediently. Just don't hit me again. It knelt down in front of Fang Chen, showing its submission. Fang Chen nodded, having dealt with it. He then looked at Hua Zhangchen, who had suddenly barged in, his face showing confusion. Hua Zhangchen, did you just call my name? He had been focused on fighting the white void jade ox just now, only hearing someone shout his name loudly, but did not catch the tone. He asked the question now. Droplets of cold sweat broke out on Hua Zhangchen's forehead, his throat rolled, and he swallowed secretly. All thoughts of avenging his humiliation and washing away his shame had been completely blown away by Fang Chen's terrifying strength. He did not even dare to mention it, let alone think about it again. What exactly are you here for? Fang Chen frowned. You called my name, then stood there like a log not moving, and don't even answer when I ask you a question. Hua Zhangchen finally snapped back to his senses, his face stiffened a little. When he met Fang Chen's eyes, he was even more guilty and quickly looked away. I came here to... He stammered, unable to think of a good excuse for a long time. Liang Feiyin glanced at him. He had heard the hostility in Hua Zhangchen's shout just now. The reason he had changed so much was probably the same as Liang Feiyin himself, suddenly realizing that Fang Chen was too fierce to provoke. He sneered, Junior Brother Hua, you didn't come here to demand an explanation for Lai Shiqian, did you? Fang Chen frowned even deeper, a hint of displeasure on his face. Will your Taisheng sect ever stop? Lai Shiqian caused trouble again and again, and finally angered Vice Pavilion Master Yi, which led to her fate, yet you keep pestering me. Do you think that just because my sect is not here, I am easy to bully when I'm alone? Hua Zhangchen's heart jumped violently, and he hurriedly said, No, this senior brother has absolutely no such intention, none at all. My junior sister is willful and ignorant, ending up Disqualified is her just deserts. How would I have the face to demand an explanation from you? Fang Chen grew even more confused. Then what are you here for? He had no friendship with Hehuan Sect at all. The only interaction they had was the spar during the Taisheng Sect Grand Competition. Hehuan Sect's face stiffened again. Suddenly he had a brainwave and shouted sternly at Lai Shiqian outside the tent, "Get in here right now." Lai Shiqian was waiting outside anxiously, praying that Fang Chen would not be killed. When she suddenly heard Hehuan Sect shout, her heart leaped into her throat. Did he already kill him? She hurried inside, but the first thing she saw was Fang Chen, completely unharmed. What happened to teaching him a harsh lesson? He doesn't even have a single injury. You should at least break all his bones, make him scream in pain so badly he cries for his parents, right? She could not help but question, "Senior brother Hua, what is going on here? Didn't you say Fang Chen would be beaten to death? In the end you dawdled for ages and didn't even scratch his skin." Hehuan Sect had a stern look on his face, pressed a hand on her head and scolded, "What are you staring blankly at? Kneel down and apologize to junior brother Fang right now. Look at all rubbish you've done. Even your senior brother is ashamed of you." Wait, this isn't how the script was supposed to go. Lai Shiqian was stunned. "You clearly came to teach Fang Chen a lesson under the pretext of avenging me. How come when you get in front of Fang Chen, you're pressing my head to make me apologize to him?" She exclaimed, "Senior brother, are you crazy?" Before she could finish speaking, Hehuan Sect swept her legs out from under her, making her kneel on the ground, then pressed her head and knocked it against the ground 3 times with loud thuds. After doing this, he gave Fang Chen a stiff smile. "I came here to bring my junior sister to kowtow and apologize to junior brother Fang. I hope junior brother Fang will be magnanimous and let bygones be bygones." Fang Chen was stunned. Hadn't he Kangyuan already punished Lai Shiqian and given him an explanation? Was there any need to drag Lai Shiqian over, force her to kneel and kowtow to apologize? Hehuan Sect didn't seem as bad as he had imagined. At least he could distinguish right from wrong and didn't favor his own people. He hurriedly said, "Senior brother Hua is overstating it. The matter is already over. There's no need to go this far." Hehuan Sect let out a sigh of relief, saying, "Thank you for your magnanimity, junior brother Fang. Since that's the case, I won't disturb you any longer. Farewell, farewell." Saying that, he dragged Lai Shiqian, whose forehead was swollen from the kowtowing, and left quickly. Fang Chen was a little puzzled. Why did Hehuan Sect feel so weird? Xia Chaoge beside him sighed softly. "Isn't the source of the weirdness you, martial uncle? You're a new disciple, yet you have strength comparable to top elites like us, who wouldn't find you weird. When they meet you, even I feel a little weird about it." Xia Chaoge thought to herself, martial uncle's strength is actually this strong. How did the rumor that he has no spirit roots even spread? It's so ridiculously far from the truth. Liang Feiyun agreed wholeheartedly, thinking that Fang Chen was simply a monster. He cupped his fists in salute and said, "Then I wish junior brother Fang success in completing your mission, victory the moment you arrive. When you return, this senior brother will host a celebration feast for you. Farewell." Nangong Zaoi and also had to go deal with the unwanted multicolored spirit steeds, saying, "Junior brother Fang, you must be extremely careful. The rescue mission is classified as heaven grade, so it definitely hides enormous danger." After saying that, the two left one after another, leaving only Fang Chen and Xia Chaoge behind. Xia Chaoge was still worried, saying, "Martial uncle, let me come with you. My strength is passable. I should be able to help you a little." Fang Chen waved his hand directly. The danger of this trip was unknown. He already regretted bringing Yue Mingzhu with him. If he was careless, Yue Mingzhu could lose her life. How could he let Xia Chaoge get involved too? Xia Chaoge said, "But martial uncle, you've used up your last rejuvenation pill too. If you really run into danger, you'll have very little room to maneuver." Fang Chen laughed. "Who said I only had one last rejuvenation pill?" He thought for a moment, glanced left and right, confirmed no one else was around, then took out a vial of 10 rejuvenation pills, quickly stuffed it into her palm, and said, "Take it, use it. Quietly, don't let anyone know." Xia Chaoge looked at her palm in confusion. One glance, and even with her calm temperament, she was shocked. Rejuvenation pills, so many. Didn't they say there were only 3 rejuvenation pills on the market, all of which ended up in hands of 10,000 swords sect? Where did these 10 come from? Coming to her senses, she quickly stuffed it back to Fang Chen, saying, No, I can't take this. Please take it back, martial uncle." How precious rejuvenation pills are now goes without saying. Even one is a rare divine treasure hard to find in the world, let alone a whole bottle. How dare I accept such a precious gift? Fang Chen said, "We share the bond of martial uncle and sect nephew. What need is there for such formality?" Yet Xia Chaoge's stance was unyielding. She spoke, "Martial uncle, though we are indeed martial uncle and sect nephew, the value of this gift far surpasses all proper limits. I, Chaoge, neither dare nor am permitted to accept it. I implore you to forgive me, martial uncle." Bounds, Fang Chen was stunned for a moment. What could she mean by those words? To the outside world, the rejuvenation pill was indeed a divine treasure, but to him, who carried over 100 of such pills and could refine them at will, it was no more than a trivial, commonplace small gift. He had decided to give it to Xia Chaoge precisely because he knew she often undertook first-tier missions fraught with deadly peril. As her martial uncle, gifting her a few healing medicinal pills should hardly count as crossing some line, right? Yet judging by Xia Chaoge's resolute demeanor, it seemed she truly would not accept it.